Cook this beaner.
Man, whatever the hell.
Hello boys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm White Pill Media, and we are talking about Deus Ex Mankind Divided, and why, in fact, all lives do not matter, and they really don't matter. This video is going to be full of spoilers. If you've played the game, great. If you haven't played the game, I really don't recommend it. I was able to get this and Human Revolution on GOG for like less than $10 for both games with all the DLC and everything. So I don't consider it like a big waste of money. Like if it's like $5 on sale, like maybe keep your $5. That would be kind of my recommendation. We're going to be talking about the whole game, all the DLC. I've done a video on each of the Deus Ex games. I played the first one a couple months ago, and then Invisible War, Human Revolution, and now here we are. We're done. We are done with Deus Ex. Hooray. What a disappointment from game one, and then Invisible War right down a fucking cliff, and then Human Revolution. That didn't save the franchise. It did a lot of things very bad and wrong. You can watch my Human Revolution video if you want, if you haven't seen it. And then Mankind Divided. It did improve on some things, gameplay-wise. It did. I think it also did some things worse gameplay-wise. And then just the story, the politics of this game are central. And they're very bad. It's a very black and white game. Deus Ex, like, it's known for having like kind of a gray. It's about choices. It's supposed to be an immersive sim. This game throws it all out the window for all lives matter, your mechanical apartheid. I should have that trailer playing in the background now, so you're probably seeing that was like a promotional trailer from when the game was coming out. It raises more questions. Nothing is really answered here. We don't get a lot of resolution to the last game. We have worse characters overall. I think I was a little like on like Pritchard and Seraph and Malik. But I will say, me thinking those were like okay-ish characters, like I really kind of missed them in this game. Like I'm like, wow, they were leagues better than all the side characters we got in Mankind Divided. Like they don't even really stack. It's night and day. And the ending, holy shit, the ending. I thought the ending in Human Revolution was bad. This took the cake. This was insane. Somehow we had a very bad villain who does not feel like the villain. He's more of like a goon or a henchman, but the game seemed to be like basically cut in half. I guess that was like EA, but what a shit show of him. He was just like, I'll talk about him more later on, but Marchenko was just like confusing, like motive wise. He didn't make a lot of sense for me. I think he was like written one way and then they changed it so that he was something else. And the prevalent overall issue that was a major problem in Human Revolution and is still a problem here, we're still in a prequel. We are in a prequel, and it can't be too exciting because we know how certain things have to go, and we know characters who cannot die. And yeah, we're on a set course. So it's kind of boring. You have to be like really invested in Adam Jensen. I didn't really like him in Human Revolution. I think he's worse here. Like there's less of him. So yeah, that's still a big problem. I'm not going to touch on it too much. I think there's probably a lot of videos that are on it, but there's controversy before the game out. There was like a augment your pre-order thing, which would like, I think from what I've looked up, would mean you would have to like make choices about what rewards you would want in a pre-order for Mankind Divided, and that would make it like you get locked out of certain other rewards. Basically, it created like artificial scarcity, and there's this huge backlash. So EA like went back on some of it. I still think they have like a digital shop for a single player game, which is like sad and hilarious to me. I tried to find it, but I could not find it in my game, and I think it's because I have a GOG game and it's like on Steam and other like websites, I guess like the Epic Store, where you can like still have like the in-game like purchase praxis kits, which you absolutely do not fucking need. So it's just really weird. I don't know who would use the store, but I definitely agree with people where it's like, no, this should not be like standard going on from now on, that every game just has like an in-game fucking store. Even if you don't use it, even if it's not necessary, it's the precedent and it's wrong and it should be boycotted when it's used. So they went back on that, but I still think, yeah, they still went forward with like a in-game store and everything with that. This came out 5 years after Human Revolution. Human Revolution was 2011. This was 2016. And in in-game time, this is 2 years since the last game. And we are with like a special ops team, Task Force 29, and we're headed to Dubai for your first mission. We don't know exactly how we got here from like Panchaea, and the ending that the game went with, because you had 4 choices in Human Revolution, it looks like they went with the blow up Panchaea ending. So that's what happened. But we don't know how we got from there to here, right? Because apparently there was a tie-in book called Deus Ex Blacklight that supposedly answers some of the questions and like bridges the gap. Yeah, I don't care. I didn't read it. I shouldn't have to read side content to know what the hell is going on. The only kind of like video game books I've ever read were some of the Halo ones, and I thought those were pretty good. But I should not have to like read a book to understand what the fuck the game is doing. That's really dumb. That's bad. Also, the book came out on the same day as the game. Probably the book should have come out like a month or so earlier, because people, like, if you have the book in one hand and then the game in the other hand, you're going to pick the game every time. So maybe that would have helped a little bit, but I still think that's like a really, really bad idea to put this like very relevant and important information in something outside of the main product. It makes like the intro a little disorienting, where I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here, but like I'm on a plane and we're supposed to like take out some bad guys. So that's something, I guess. Yeah, and I'm just going to get in the game now. Gonna go level by level, and I'll like probably go on some tangents here and there, but just overall, politics are bad, right? So the Aug incident, where Hugh Darrow sent out that signal to all the augmented people and made them go crazy, so they became like rage zombies. So they killed like a shit ton of people. I think they said like 50 million people died during the Aug incident. Fuck ton of people. And now augmented people are being treated like, basically, you know, you have All Lives Matters, right? They call the trailer the mechanical apartheid trailer. So Augs are blacks, they're Jews, they're gays, they're just any minority under the sun that the left wants to champion. That's who they are in this game. So that's the world that we're living in now. As I said, we're on the way to Dubai. We're with Interpol, and we're going after some arms dealer, right? So we're like in this abandoned hotel, and you get your same option as usual. Do you want to go lethal, non-lethal? I chose lethal, of course. It kind of runs like fairly smooth. I had a pretty good time. I guess overall for game performance, I did have Mankind Divided crash a handful of times, definitely more than Human Revolution. It didn't crash to like an insane degree. It wasn't like constant, but it was every now and then, which was like kind of annoying. I would say graphically, it looks pretty good, right? I'm not going to like sit here and like pout about the graphics, but I can't like keep coming back to a game if like everything else about it sucks, but it has like good graphics. And I'm like, I don't really give a shit. You know, I would take bad graphics, but it's very fun to play. And it has like a good story, good characters, right? But the main thing is the game fun. The game also put in like these little triangles that you can find around the map, right? And you're supposed to like scan these. You're supposed to have some like Deus Ex app that you're supposed to like scan with your phone, right? Turns out this app no longer exists, so you can't even scan these little fucking triangles if you wanted to. But it's even gayer than that, because all it does is like give you like little clips of like, here's how we made blah blah blah, or etc. So these are just scattered around the map. It's very kind of immersion breaking, but that's whatever. And as Adam, you have like all of your augmentations unlocked, so you feel like really incredibly overpowered, which is the point, right? Because you're supposed to like pick and like see kind of what playstyle you wanted. But I'm like, why do I have all my augmentations like basically unlocked? Like, where the hell do I go from here? We'll get to that. So I did have some complaints about it for like an intro level, because you're kind of like retard proof when you have everything unlocked. Like, you can't take fall damage, but you're going around, you're taking out these arms dealer guys called the Jinn. You're supposed to help the CI get out of this situation because some guys wearing gold masks ambush the gun buy, and they're like augmented terrorists. So we have to deal with that, and also the chopper's taking off. And the game really started on me, and then it dropped me here. And there's also a sandstorm, so you can't see anything. Very fun. I did save Agent Singh. You have the intro cutscene happen. I think I'll play this. And Adam Jensen vows that this will not happen again, sort of invoking Holocaust talking points and never again.
It's afraid of people like us.
Bust into safe and secure segregation.
You didn't think it would end with the Aug incident, did you?
We were victims. This is retribution for a tragedy we could not control.
They control the news. They buried the truth with disinformation.
Multiple detonations. Looks like car bombs.
Another terrorist attack, this time in a police station.
The United Nations Security Council has tasked
The new anti-terrorist intelligence and response team will have global
Task Force
jurisdiction.
29. Agent Jensen.
I won't let it happen again.
I'll have more to say about that later on, but that, I believe that is what we are invoking here. They don't really shy away from that. And then we have like a little cutscene with the Illuminati, and I'll play that.
It cost us.
They knew the risks.
How many assets did we lose?
All of them. This sandstorm didn't help.
The mission was a success.
Clearly, your scale for success is a generous one. However, the erratic nature of the attack could work to our advantage. Interpol will be confused for weeks, and with our continued guidance, the people will come round eventually. We are all in this for the long game, after all.
That's never changed.
You think so? Do I need to remind you all how far we have veered off course? The Aug incident has caused a schism in society. Things are worse than we projected, and growing more unstable every day. This will not be tolerated. To ensure the success of our vision, the disruptive elements must be excised.
No one here disagrees with you. But let me fly to New York and I will personally evaluate the situation. We may already have the votes we need to ensure that the Human Restoration Act passes.
Very well. Stanton, you accompany. We may need to exert financial as well as political pressure to silence anyone opposed. Proceed. Elizabeth, I'll contact you later.
It won't succeed, Lucius, even with Dowd's money. You know what Rand will find in New York? Weak, ineffectual men. And with Nathaniel Brown still an unknown factor.
Of course. That is why we're proceeding with our alternate strategy. You have claimed much in the past, Paige. This is your chance to deliver.
Everything is in place. We can initiate whenever you wish.
How secure are your communications, Bob? Jaina seems to have eyes everywhere these days. He and his Juggernaut Collective...
Janus won't be an issue. I've made arrangements. I laid the foundations. Now it is time to get everyone's attention. Paige, activate the sleep cell.
We have Bob Page again. I like Bob Page. Bob Page is cool. And they want the Human Restoration Act to pass, which we don't know what that is right now. And then they tell Paige to activate the sleep cells. Ooh, mysterious. They're sitting around a table doing like a hologram shit. And as Adam Jensen, we wake up on a train in Prague a week after Dubai. We exit onto this train station, which has hover bots in the air. These don't feel as bad as like the hover bots in Invisible War. They feel like drones. I don't know if it sort of breaks the setting for me, maybe a little bit, but these felt like a lot more reasonable than what we saw in Invisible War. It feels like a police state for sure. There's like a heavy police presence. They're all armored. They have like assault rifles. And then we meet with this woman, a black woman named Alex. She tells us that Miller has lied to us. Miller is like the leader of like the Interpol team that we're on. But like this little conversation, we have no idea who Alex is, right? We don't know what the hell is going on or like why we're speaking to like rival factions with like Miller and her. There's segregated lines in the station. You have to give your papers to police officers twice, and so does Alex. These are for augmented people. Apparently she's with something called the Juggernaut Collective, and we don't know exactly what that is. And then suddenly there's a bomb and it goes off on the station. Jensen runs in. He has to check it out. There's this crying boy. He lifts up this rubble that fell on his mother, but she's dead. And then we cut to 30 hours after the bombing. You're in an apartment. The TV is on. It's talking about Seraph Industries has shut down. After like the incident, there's something called the Taggart Act. There's this ebook from Pritchard. I was really, really hoping that Pritchard would make an appearance because I did like him in Human Revolution. He does, but only in a DLC, and that DLC is really fucking gay. I mean that both like literally and figuratively, but we'll talk about the DLC towards the end. And there's a welcome package from the Juggernaut Collective. It's from like Quinn from the Missing Link DLC. He's with those guys. He makes mention of a Spanish girl coming to meet us. I guess he means the black chick, Alex, but she's not Spanish. Anyways, Bell Tower is no more. Janice is making life hard for the wealthy by hacking, and we're just in this little apartment. It's not like as fancy or as nice as Detroit, but still like it's a decent apartment. From the TV, I decided to call Seraph. Ty Young apparently bought up Seraph Industries. Frank Pritchard, he's a freelance agent now. Megan is with VersaLife in California. I was really hoping that she would appear. She does not. They do almost fucking nothing with Megan. There's a city out in the desert being built by augmented people for augmented people. This is called Rabaya, and I'll talk more about Rabaya in a bit. And I can like interact with my apartment. Like this is new. Like you can turn the oven on and you can like turn on a kettle. Just like little crap that you can do to like interact with your environment, like a washer and dryer type of thing. It's like, do I really care? Does this make like a good game to me to be able to like turn on a washer or a dryer? It's like, no, not really, man. Like I guess it's there, but I don't really like give a shit that it's there. Whatever. There's some Indian beer. It does not mention colonization this time, so we will not go on a unrelated tangent about the British Empire. There is, however, a little Malik Easter egg with like the cereal box, like a little toy helicopter, like, hey, spy boy. So I guess Malik is alive and not dead because she could like live or die depending on your choices in Human Revolution. So that's something. I do like Malik a lot better than Chicane, and it's not just because Chicane is black, but that's part of it, I guess. But yeah, Malik's gone, Pritchard's gone, Seraph is barely there. The voice actor is different. The voice actor's worse. I'm supposed to like report in to Stephen Miller and like the task force, but I'm also supposed to meet with like Alex and the Juggernaut people. So you're just thrust out into Prague because you're supposed to like investigate the bombing, and there's so much to explore. You spend like 3 different times in Prague. The first time I was in Prague, I spent 18 and a half hours exploring things, and I absolutely missed some stuff. It's big, it's huge. Just like the sewers are pretty detailed. Like Human Revolution, they're a letdown. They're pretty shitty. But in here, there's a lot going on down there. There's a lot going on vertically with just like balconies and roofs and going into people's apartments. And there's so much to explore and to see. And you have different districts. You get around through the metro. Ton of shit going on. Like a huge amount of shit going on. And you would think that that's a good thing. And it is and isn't. A rather weak main storyline. The side content varies greatly in terms of quality, but the kind of overarching story and problem is the politics of the game, with your augmenteds being blacks or Jews or gays or other minorities, and that is present wherever you go. It's always constantly in your face, absolutely just like is shoved down your throat, and it's not interesting or good. But I investigated like my apartment complex. There's a lot of like weird shit going on. Oh, the hacking minigame. The hacking minigame made it back in. I was so worried that the hacking minigame wouldn't carry over from Human Revolution, but it's fucking here. It's here. The hacking minigame, it's here. That's so fucking bad. That's so stupid. I do like that you can just get rid of your mini-map overall. That's a nice option. I did not realize that until I beat the game, so that's on me. But that option does exist, and I think that's a good option. From what I can tell, unless I missed it, there is no rocket launcher in this game. There's like a fucking grenade launcher, but it's like, I don't want a fucking grenade launcher. I want a fucking rocket launcher, dude. So there's like no rocket launcher. In terms of like exploring, I think vents are still used like a bit too much to get around. A little overused. I wish there's a little more variety there. A lot of weird shit in my apartment complex. There's a weird cult with candles, something called the Machine God, the Void which binds. I spoke with some cultists down below. They talk about a mother. They call us a seeker. It reminded me of Invisible War and like the Order Seekers. Got some junkies. There's like people selling black market shit in my apartment building. They do offer praxis kits, but the limb clinics, they're all gone because augmented people are like downtrodden now. So the praxis kits are $10,000 a piece, not $5,000. So I came up with a plan. I will come back and buy the praxis kits, and then I'm going to kill everyone here and then loot their apartment. So that was my plan. Some of the character models look good. Others are like incredibly ugly. Like I'll talk about that in a little bit. But like your main like female interaction is Alex, the black woman with the really bad hair. So she's very ugly. And I'm like, why do like random like junkies outside of my apartment building like look better than like Alex, the main girl that you interact with? I'm like, that sucks. I found a paper in the sewers that only 7 million people have augmentations now, and there's talk of a cult down there. 7 million people. Now I think maybe the developers were a little too afraid to say 6 million because that's kind of the magic number, right? So they didn't quite want to go that far, but they said 7 million augmented people, and they're being treated so bad. They're being segregated, and I'll go into a little more detail later on, but you have like benches, and this is for naturals only. Benches are for augmented only. Going into the subway, you have segregated lines. You have businesses that don't allow augmented to go into them, and that type of thing. There's supposed to be a second-class, downtrodden minority being abused by the system. And this is everywhere. That's all over Prague. So while you can explore a lot in Prague, you're going to see that everywhere you fucking go. Something that annoyed me in the sewers is that you have this one point where you have two paths. To the left is poison gas. You can't go down there unless you have a praxis upgrade to breathe through that. I guess if you used a lot of healing items, you could do it. And then there's to the right, and it's a little pipe, and it gets you all the way through to a clean area. There's no thinking required to navigate around. It just feels like bash your head against the wall. This is like really like retarded, just like dumbed down gameplay, which like you don't have to think. There's I can't go through there. Well, there's the path I need. Like it's literally right next to it. That's like a really good example I can give of Mankind Divided in some of their level design. There's this weird thing with this cult leader called Richard who has some kind of like augmented power over us, and he's using it to like keep people trapped in this weird little cult. You can't argue with this guy, and I'm like, okay, I need to get my augs fixed. I found a poster of him who's like a hypnotist. This is maybe one of the weirdest side quests in Mankind Divided. It really feels like a Fallout quest. Like you go into this little room in the sewers, there's this big guy on TV, and he's keeping all these people here, and he has like these little mental powers over them. It really feels like Fallout. This is not Deus Ex at all. Cops keep harassing me and asking me for my ID whenever I get off the subway. So this is kind of my fuck up, and I did not realize this for a while, but you have like two paths to walk when you're going up from the subway up to the surface, and you can go in the augmented path over to the left, or you can use the natural path over to the right. You're not natural, you're augmented. So I, by default, it's just kind of natural to me. I would walk up the right side, and then every time you would get like harassed by a cop. Hey, show me your papers. And this is, of course, to anger and frustrate the player because they want to get back to playing the game, and this cop is stopping them from playing the game, so you're supposed to hate the cops, right? But I tested it later on, like after I beat the game, and if you just walk up the left path, they do not ask you for your papers. I think maybe just randomly on the street they'll ask you for your papers, but if you stick to the correct path, they don't hassle you nearly as much. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, it's definitely in the game just to like fuck with the player and piss them off. I would say in terms of world building, Human Revolution never really sold me on their world. Mankind Divided has sold me on the world. Just like there's a lot of tension in the air. You have police stopping and checking people. It feels real, but I still hate it, right? I hate like the message that they're doing. I hate the imagery that they're using. It sucks, but it's a lot more believable. And I don't have like too much to say as I'm exploring Prague during this time. So I'm just going to be touching on like me exploring Prague. You know, I'm not going to make you sit through 18 and a half hours of me running around doing side content for the most part. Instead, I'm going to give you the highlights. We do have a poster with Augmented Lives Matter. There are some magazines throughout the game that also have a woman wearing a t-shirt saying Augmented Lives Matter. A lot of like random NPCs, like if you break into someone's apartment and then hack their computer, like they gives you their full name, some of their backstory, what they're struggling with. Augmented people, they can have licenses, and then if their license runs out, they get sent to some place called Golem City. We'll talk about Golem City later on. There was like some group where like they're trying to get to Rabaya, which is like the desert augmented city, when like some artists flock there. I found like a guy dead in the sewer. I think he was like one of the guys I was talking about trying to like flee to Rabaya. I guess it didn't work out because he killed himself. And then we're supposed to go to Kroller because Kroller is a guy that can help like fix our augs. And his bookstore is being attacked right now by some Diwali. And Diwali are like Czechoslovakian gangsters, pimps, drugs, that type of thing. And they're shaking him down for protection money. So I was going quiet at first, and then I went loud later on. But yeah, there's just a shit ton of them. They got a lot of guns. Huge, massive fucking improvement over Human Revolution. I'll give props to this game. Grenade stack, that's one. That's huge. Also, when you like kill a guy or knock them out, they drop their weapon. And if you pick their weapon up, it gives you like a few rounds of that weapon. That was a good change. I don't know if I like it so much. Like, I just said it was a good change. But like a huge issue is scarcity. The lack of scarcity in this game. I'm going to show off my inventory at a few points during this video. But towards the end of the game, I had like 800 plus rounds or like even 1,000 rounds of like pistol ammunition. I never bought ammo. That was just me exploring around the map, and I had like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rounds, and just my inventory was completely fucking full by the end. And it was a little ridiculous of how much ammunition you got. And I would even get into like some huge like gunfights with the police and other groups, and it barely put any dent in my ammunition stockpile. So yeah, I would consider like the lack of scarcity to be a problem here. And then after we defeat all the gangsters, we go through a secret passage in the bookstore to get to Crawler. I hate Crawler. Like Alex is almost like deliberately ugly, and maybe she is deliberately ugly. Crawler is fucking deliberately ugly. He has gauges. He has just like these little buttons on his shirt, and he's just, yeah, his facial hair, and it's like his wacky hairstyle. It's like kind of like leftist artwork, you know what I mean? It's like it's super fucking ugly, which is weird because like they can clearly design like good looking characters in the background, but the characters that you have to interact with more are like just super fucking ugly, you know, like they went out of their way to make him like hard to look at. So you have to go under for him to like take a look at your augs and to fix them. So you go under, and then he has messed you up and he reboots you, and now you have to go get your augs again. So like, yes, you had like all of your augs unlocked during the Dubai mission, and you're supposed to like try them out. And then like, what kind of playstyle do you like? You know, because you got to see them all in action. I also like on the augmentation menu that when you like go over in aug, it'll like play a little clip to like demonstrate fully like how it works. And I'm like, that's a very good improvement. Also, experimental augs, because apparently in between Human Revolution and Mankind Divided, someone, because we were like in a coma as well, so we don't really remember some of the stuff that was happening. We were like in a Alaska hospital slash sort of prison. We were kind of a prisoner. And now there are these other augs here. And what you can do is if you like depower like one of the non-experimental augs, then you could like power up one of the experimental augs without overheating yourself. So overall, I don't think the experimental augs are very good or interesting. There's like super armor where you take like no damage. There's like a super sprint. You can slow down time. Those all seem like okay to fine. And then you have stuff like Tesla blades where you can like electric shock people, or like blades that you can shoot at people. You know, you have the Typhoon system from the last game, which like shoots out little explosives around you. My issue with like the Tesla, the blades, and the Typhoon is that they all require their own ammo, and your inventory, it's tight. It's already really tight, and these three don't seem like super unique or great. Overall, like fairly meh. Like none of the visual ones look good. You still have recharging health in this game. Your biocells recharge as well, unlike in Human Revolution. I don't love that. It just feels like too much on easy mode. There was never a point where I was like lacking in biocells. I went into like the last missions of this game with over 75 biocells. A little overkill. It's a little too handholdy that your fucking biocells also recharged. One experimental aug that I did not get until the last mission of the game was remote hacking. I really wish I had gotten this sooner. I think remote hacking is like very good. I thought it was like fairly limited, but I had to like get it during that last mission because I was stuck at a certain part where I was trying to be like really stealthy. So I had to use my praxis points on remote hacking to like stun this camera so that I would have enough time to like shut the camera off. I think remote hacking is probably like pretty good or like really good. So I would recommend that if you do play. And there's also multiple types of ammo. There's Tesla ammo, which you use on like cameras and turrets and robots to stun them. There's your regular ammo, and then there's your armor piercing ammo. Your inventory is pretty fucking small, and each unique type of ammo per gun takes up its own inventory slot. It really, really sucks. Like, they're useful. Like, armor piercing is really good. The Tesla ammo is good at stunning electronic stuff, but just it takes up too much space. There are also no more weapon upgrade kits, like in the original game and also in Human Revolution. Instead, you have crafting parts. So like environments are just filled with all this like little clutter and bullshit for you to pick up. And crafting parts, if you get a fuck ton of crafting parts, you can like marginally upgrade your damage or your ammo capacity or whatever on your guns. I think just remove like the fucking crafting parts. And yes, with the crafting parts, you can like craft other things, multi-tools and other stuff. Oh, multi-tools are back in. That's cool. I am glad that they are here. Like, that's something, right? I'll take it. But still, I think gun kits would have been like much better than just here's like little piles of crap for you to click on, you know, and then you get like a small dopamine hit. So just keep doing it. Deus Ex did not need crafting, okay? It really, really did not need crafting. I think maybe if you had like mods that you could put on your guns, like to have the effect of the Tesla ammo or armor piercing, but it would eat up a lot more ammunition or something when you had those mods activated on your gun. That might have been like a nice compromise, middle of the road approach. Maybe. Like, I don't know. It's an idea. And Crawler, to like make our system not overheat anymore, tells us to like go to a casino to talk to like the Diwali people because they have like a calibrator or something. He gave me a couple praxis points and I instantly fully upgraded hacking to level 5 and hacking stealth just to make this easier on myself, because I know there's going to be a lot of hacking and bullshit in this game. Yeah, another thing that just eats up so much space is just you have a bunch of like little software, right? Because we added more shit to hacking, right? To make it more interesting. It's never interesting. And most of these like power-ups for hacking aren't very good or useful. So hacking, fortify also, it still exists. Why? I don't know why, but they kept that. But there is like some of the augs are like more useful now. Like the health stuff, that's always fine. The like reload faster, aim down sights, have less recoil. Those are all like good. Like you definitely get those. So I felt like the augs were a bit better off, but the experimental ones overall not incredibly impressive, except for like remote hacking. I would say that's top. Oh, and then there's this cop who won't let us go past this certain checkpoint. He's trying to get me to bribe him. I can't afford the bribe, so he gives us this address. I don't go there right away. Instead, I go to this art gallery that has a little theater underneath it. Oh, there's this book that talks about augmented refugees fleeing Europe to Africa. Very funny. It's almost as good as the Canadians gunning down American refugees in the last book. That was also a really great magazine. There's a bartender, Teresa, who is a Samaritan smuggler, which means she helps take care of clanks and hide clanks. So she's got like a secret tunnel in the basements that I guess she's like smuggling people out of. Yeah, a lot of talk about Golem City. Crawler has some connections to the crime boss. He like does some sort of favor for them, but like there's like some tension within the crime family, so you don't know exactly what's going on. I still have not gone to the task force place. I'm like, I don't know, I'm exploring, so I'll go to them last. There's a hidden Augs quest. There's this guy, Orlov, who was maybe a scientist that experimented on us. And it's said that Orlov didn't like his ideas being questioned by a strong woman. So it's kind of like Burke, right, in The Missing Link, where Burke's a sexist, and we don't like Orlov because he has a problem with strong women. You don't have a problem with strong women, do you, Adam Jensen? You're not threatened by that, are you? You don't oppose that.
No.
No! All the work we did on you was above board. You have my word on that.
What exactly did you find?
Experimental test dogs spliced into my system. Kohler said something about a neodymium shell. Who would have designed something like that?
God, you've got a Titan Aug? It's impossible. It was just a concept.
You just said this wasn't you.
It wasn't. The DoD showed me schematics 3 years ago and asked me if I thought it could work. It was designed by somebody else, Vadim Orlov. Megan and I interviewed him once, but he wouldn't have fit in.
Orlov? Sounds Russian. Who is he? Why wouldn't he have fit in?
He was supposed to be a boy wonder, a neuroscience prodigy. Got his master's degree in Moscow, post-grad in the US. His grades were off the chart, but his theories were sketchy at times. Megan said his ethics were questionable.
Megan? Megan Reed said that? The woman who gave you my DNA to experiment with?
We didn't hire him, Adam. 2 minutes into the interview, and I could tell Orlov didn't like his ideas being challenged by anyone. Least of all, a strong woman like your ex.
The guys that I kill in my apartment building after I spend $20,000 on practice kits, it turns out if you do not murder them like I murdered them to get meager loot out of them, you can then, when you return to Prague the second time and the third time, each of those times purchase a third and fourth praxis kit from them. So what I would recommend is you don't be White Pill Media and you gun people down for pocket money, and instead you get 2 more praxis kits. That would make a lot of really good sense. I decided to go that address that one corrupt cop told me to go to. It's like this abandoned toy factory. They say they're Augs, not people. Only a matter of time before they come knocking at night. I guess it's like a parallel to like what Jews experienced, allegedly. They have a bunch of clanks running around that could at any point get hacked and then commit violence against normal people. And then you have these based guys taking advantage of these monsters. I don't see the problem. And they're talking as you're going through this toy store about some forger because they're like forging documents, and then they're getting Augs to spend a lot of money on these new papers so they don't get deported to Golem City. And it turns out our forger upstairs is a blue-haired woman with a side cut with gauges, and she started doing this to help her augmented friends. Her name is Melina Epstein. I'm not making any of this up. Just like watch the screen. Her name is Melina Epstein, and she forged documents to help these poor, oppressed people from being deported. Wow. Amazing. Some backstory that you can find on this toy store place is that we have a worthless son, a fail son, if you will, who has lost his mother's incredibly successful business and run it into the ground and the fortune, and he is now just a criminal using his mother's workshop as a outlet for his criminal activities. And it's like, wow, really? Of course, it's a failed son, right? And of course, he's a petty criminal now. You have like a couple options on how to settle things. Melina mentions that there's a female cop who, even though we hate all cops because they're really mean to augmented people, we actually like this one female cop. So Melina tells us we could try talking to this female cop. So we go to talk to this female cop, and she's been trying to stop this extortion racket because, of course, she's one of the good one, and a woman is trying to save the day. Melina Epstein, a Jewish woman, is helping these augmented people. So she decides to bring in this like corrupt guy who's not actually a police officer. He's like a guard or whatever that is like involved with corrupt cops, but he himself isn't like a cop, I don't believe.
My way of being okay with that is to be abstract. I don't drag human beings from their homes. I drag historical outliers. I don't shoot into unarmed crowds. I fulfill the will of history.
You mean the will of those in power?
Same difference.
Dramir's checkpoint is the setup for a forgery ring. He's not just stopping Augs and giving them a hard time. He's not just taking people's lunch money. It's extortion.
This forgery ring, you have an address?
I was inside. I saw the equipment.
You know what? You had me back at harassing. I've been dying for an excuse. A chance to go after someone who actually deserves it for once. No more hiding behind the people he bribes. I suggest keeping your distance. Official police business now. Stay out of it.
No one!
Here we go.
I might be misremembering that, But she just walks down the street with a few other cops, and they get in a gunfight with the corrupt guys running the fake checkpoint and murder them in broad daylight. There's no attempt to bring them in. There's no attempt to arrest them, because I guess the system is just that corrupt, because I think it's like maybe 25% of the police force is like under the pay of the criminal family, the Duvallys. But this is hilarious. This is fucking hilarious. She literally murders him in broad daylight and nothing happens. There's no investigation. There's no nothing. This guy obviously had criminal connections. You don't think they would investigate? Or there's no like plan whatsoever. Like, hey, we can't bring this guy in. The system's too corrupt. We're going to kill him. Not like wait until night or when he's like in a secluded area, then kill him and just make it look like some like, I don't know, a drug deal or some other criminal deal gone bad to cover your ass. It's stupid. This is just dog shit writing. I fucking hated it. And then Melina, one of my favorite characters in this game. Melina, who I love. Melina, who stole my heart. Gives us a quest to talk to these two augmented people to get them papers so that they don't get deported to Golem City. So we have Irinka, who is a mentally ill freak who is down in that one theater below the art gallery. Does this mean I don't have to hide? I was really hoping we could just like kill her and finish the quest. And she is like talking in third person and such. She's clearly just like a little crazy. It's like, I don't know, maybe this crazy woman shouldn't be in this city full of like normal people. And then we go to this grocery store, which was empty before, but now when you go to this grocery store, you have a guy there on the ground. He's about to be shot by this guy trying to rob him. We help the guy. We get him up. He is augmented. He talks about maybe killing his own grandson. I don't think it's a maybe. It's like during the incident, he lost control and he's playing with his grandson, and then like he killed his grandson, and his daughter and her family don't want anything to do with him. They don't contact him anymore. The city in the desert, Rabia, that they keep mentioning, it's obviously a trap or trick, because it's like a paradise for augmented people. Whenever like a sci-fi or like any medium talks about this one place is a paradise, it's like always bad, right? It's like always a dystopia. Spoilers, we don't get to go there in this game, and we probably never will. But yeah, it's the augmented city in the desert. I thought at first this was like a reference to like Rabbi, but this is Rabia, and I think that I'm wrong. I think it's like an Arab word, and it means like garden or green place, like a little paradise, right? I still feel like they were trying to evoke like Moses imagery, like Jewish imagery, like you, Adam Jensen, because like I saw like they had some notes where it's like Rabia was supposed to be a place you were going to go to, and there's going to be like a second hub, but it never happened. And like you, Adam Jensen, were going to go there and free the augmented people and literally lead them out of slavery and into the desert. Very Jewish, but that didn't happen. I suppose if they ever do a sequel to Mankind Divided, that might happen, but yeah, we don't actually get to do anything with Rabia. I go down into the sewers again. Some Augs live down here like animals, as they should. I blew myself up at one point. That was just my bad. I run into this really weird looking place that's like, why is there a nightclub underground? Turns out that this is the casino that Kroller wanted me to go to, so that's good. Check that off the list. You got a guy holding an invisible gun here. You got some nice ladies working here. You got doors above ground that say naturals only. One of the best presidents that they've ever had here was the first female president as well, and she died during the incident, but she was their first female president, and everyone loved her. She was just amazing and wonderful and just the best. You have tables reserved just for naturals. You have park benches for naturals. I did see a dirty Aug sitting on that bench. I should have done something. For an immersive sim, you do not have the option of reporting that person to the police. They broke the law. Like, The law is very clear. There are benches for augmented and then benches for normal people. You're not allowed on the normal people bench, but you don't get that option to turn them in. That was bullshit. Found a drug den and then this rich-ass storage unit as well. A lot of the stuff that I've listed, you can see that you're obviously supposed to side with the augmented people, and because you did not have a choice in Human Revolution or Mankind Divided whether or not you wanted to be augmented. You simply are augmented. You don't really have a choice but to side with the augmented people, right? Because you're one of them. You know, they're not going to just let you go if they're punishing all of these people. So it removes kind of like that agency, that choice from the player, right? Because it's like, well, these are my people in sort of a way. There's this weird email from this guy where like he's like hosting movie nights or like weird fantasy roleplay stuff, and it's from Percy Butter to Percy Butter. That was kind of funny. There's a Voltar machine in the magic shop that it doesn't like do anything. I think it gave me money once. I tested it later on. You can like put money in and it'll give you a little fortune, but it'll like give you a like card, literally a playing card. It doesn't do anything, but if you put enough money, it gives you a playing card, and then you can't put money in it anymore. So it seems like Richard, the guy with like the Fallout quest, and Laborio were magicians and also like homosexual lovers, which we love. And Richard is upset because their friends were getting imprisoned for being different, cool. A vendor would not serve me. Very based. Incredibly based and red-pilled. There's a woman talking about being in love with an AUG, race mixing.
Get my friend past the checkpoints? Absolutely. I paid for quality. A police sergeant even verified them for me. He said they were perfect.
Thanks. You don't know what this means. I've been dating him for 3 months, but he's restricted to Prakashka.
Wait. You're using these to fuck a clank? Give them back, or I'll tell the cops you have them.
And then there are a lot of suicide ads in the city. Depression pills, like going into like a huge mouth. You'll see like 3D billboards of a guy like jumping off a building, and like they're all over the place. So they're kind of funny. I like them. I think they're done like pretty well. That was like one of the good things of Prague. There's a Portal Cube reference. I thought that was fine. I don't like love references to other media, but it was like very small, so whatever. Oh, there's this one place underground where you have an infinite loop with a clock and a keypad where you can like hack a door, open the door, and then you can press a button to reset the door so then you can hack it again. You can do this infinitely, and if you want to do that, you can do that. I did not do that, but if you just want like money and experience and everything like that, you have this little infinite loop. I don't really see how it can get broken. But yeah, I did it a few times. I hate the hacking minigame so much that even though I'm like maxed out on hacking and like stealth hacking, I still don't want to sit there and just do this shit ad nauseum. It's too fucking boring. I hated it in the last game. I did too much in the last game. I'm not doing it here. Multi-tools can hack anything. You whip them out, you hold them down, and then they can hack like a computer, keypad, whatever. There is no lock picking. You do like have lockers that have like little like, you know, those like master locks. You just like punch them and then you can open the locker. Yeah, that's the developer saying that like, yeah, lockpicking shouldn't be a skill because like you're augmented, so you could just punch your way through them. Okay, for like locks like that makes sense. But I still feel like in situations where you're trying to be like extremely quiet, so you don't want to make noise by just like punching a lock out, that lockpicking would be useful. Also, like, I don't know. I feel like there could be like complicated enough locks or like hard to do locks where you couldn't just simply punch it and then it would just like open, you know? So I still feel like lockpicking could have made an appearance in this game. And then I finally went to the task force base, which is in the back of the shipping office. You take a secret elevator downstairs. There's a sniper rifle in like the armory room of this place, so that's cool. There's a little prison downstairs game. You have like those holding cells and you can like see NSF guys down there, and also like Walton Simmons interrogating people, which is like a really cool scene because Walton's like, hey, Jensen, get the hell out of here. And you're like, whoa, you know, he's like, he acknowledged that you were there. That's cool. And then you run into the best part of Mankind Divided. Truly a feast for the eyes. Literally my favorite. I did not think she's like a nothing character, but I really, really liked her. She is Aria Argento. She's kind of cute. She says, hey, Adam. Hi, Adam. Adam, how you doing? Whenever you walk past her.
Hey, Adam. Hey, Adam, hang on a sec. Filling out supply request forms for McCready and his boys is tedious as hell, but I don't want to give him another reason to say no.
Say no to what?
Are you kidding me? Right now, you're the only active augmented agent we have. I'm hoping to change that, been asking him every week practically, but so far, permission denied.
Considering how ugly so many other characters are, I really appreciated Arya, you know, and she's not like sexual or like nude, but like you would like Arya, right? Like you would like Arya. You would like Arya. She's cute. Like, and isn't that shitty that the developers prove that they can make attractive characters and they just, no, we don't want to do that. No, we don't want them to look good. She has like anxiety. She like wants to get out in the field, but she's being held back. She thinks she's being discriminated against for being augmented because we're like the only augmented agent here. And she would be like the second, but they're not giving her chance. Some of the emails here, there's a mention of the hacker known as Windmill. Yeah, the guy who asked me for help in the Alice Garden pods, and I just let him get killed because he was black. That guy. Or if you're like using a computer and then there's an NPC sitting there, they will like point at the computer and like go through you to point at the screen. I thought that was kind of funny. And you have this big conspiracy board where apparently Janice, who is the leader of the Juggernaut Collective, and Lebedev are connected. Lebedev being like from the original Deus Ex. And there's apparently some disgraced U.S. agent called Anna Kelso. I don't think this is like Anna and Gunther. I think this is something else. And for the Juggernaut Collective, Alex has asked us to get information on Jim Miller. So she gives us this whisper chip. And I ended up planting the whisper chip. Oh, sorry. One more thing about multi-tools. So you're like, okay, you can hack things, but you can just hack things normally. Why would you need a multi-tool? One, if you don't have a high enough hacking level, you can use the multi-tool. Two, there are some parts where like you want to hack into a place, but if you try to hack into it and there's like NPCs or police nearby, they will like shoot at you or go into a state of panic. So you cannot do that. But with a multi-tool out, you can hack in front of them and not like trigger an alarm from like the people reacting to you. They have a purpose. I didn't use them often, but there were like a handful of times that I used multi-tools. So I'm happy that they were there at least. I don't know if I mentioned it, but like biocells were not in the last game. You replenished your like energy through like protein bars and that shit. But in here you have like actual biocells. So it's something like it's moving towards the original game. So I could appreciate that. Oh, and we have an IT guy. He is Peter Chang. And he talks about that there are some conspiracy theorist guys that might expose the organization because they know that something's going on at the back of the shipping office. So we have that quest. Going down into the sewers and meeting them. So yeah, conspiracy people are more a part of the world. I wouldn't say conspiracies are as important or as relevant as the first game, but we do have these guys who like run their little magazine, but it's very like kind of mundane. They sort of feel like, yeah, anonymous, right? Those kind of like hacker guys, or I guess it's more like the Juggernaut Collective, but it feels like very kind of Antifa leftist point of view on like conspiracies and like corporations and that type of thing. So it's just kind of swimming in that. And then I'm exploring the Palisade Bank. They have some vaults down below. There's some good stuff in there. I know there's at least one Praxis kit. So having a pretty good time. You can get there through the sewers. There's also like a parking garage across the street where I killed a lot of people. I got a little maybe overeager, a little overconfident. I usually try to stealth first, and then when inevitably I fuck up my stealth, I then go on a rampage. I really wish that I did a kill all Augs or kill all Clanks playthrough, like in Golem City. Golem City for sure, that would have been hilarious, killing all the Augs. But in Prague and just everywhere, but I didn't. That's a regret I have. But I tried to hack one alarm panel, and everyone lost their mind. And I thought I was in the clear and had cover. I didn't. So instead of reloading the save, I decided to fight my way out. It was a very long fight. They sent out a bunch of fucking robots. But as I cleared the building, I did have a pile of dead guards I had to move to collect all their loot. I thought that was funny. And then there's one elevator I could not go down. It said if I had a Versa Life, like, vault card, I could go down, like, the corporate vaults. And I'm like, that's really cool. I wonder if I'll be able to get down there. I can get down there, but that's only much later on. Really fun, cool thing. There are a shit ton of cops outside waiting for me, which was not good. But I did what I did before, and I dropped a lot of cops. Again, though, you get like an insane amount of ammo for like just getting in gunfights. And it's like, this is a net positive for me in terms of like resources. So I don't think that's super that it's like that. And also, I don't know how much I really care about this, but it's like, okay, I'm in an immersive sim. I just like took out an entire bank full of people, and then a bunch of cops outside, and just walking down the street, no one really cares. I don't know what I would have wanted, like you're wanted, you have stars now. Maybe not that, but I don't know. I'm not sure how you could really like implement kind of a punishment or something. And I was working on that neon side quest, which is going okay. You can actually do the rave side quest through this electric room off to the side, so I just got the electric aug to do that. And then apparently neon is this really addictive drug, and it's only really fatal to augmented people, and naturals can take it and they're fine, but it's killing a lot of augments, and the augmented people take it because they're, I guess, like really depressed. And I think if they can't afford neuropozyne, they go on neon instead. You could say that the augmented question is sorting itself out if we just let nature run its course, but instead we don't do that, and then you find this huge drug den down in the sewers. I think this is in like the sewers really close to your apartments, but you can like get past there because there's like electricity or like maybe poison gas, I forget. Debating like just letting them have their drug running operation, leave it up and running. And I really wanted the experience, so unfortunately I did shut down the neon supply to the city. And by that point, I got the gas breather up. That little like sewer point where I bitched at, where it's like, here's the gas tunnel and here's the normal tunnel you used to go around. There's some decent loot in there if you go down the gas path and shut off the valve. But I still think it's like pretty lazy, shitty level design there. Yeah, I'll still say that's shitty. Oh, and I came into this weird room where I don't know what the hell is going on. There were some police hoverbots just like gunning down augmented people. I just stood by and didn't do anything. Maybe I would have gotten a reward if I saved them, but I just watched them get shot, so whatever. And then I had that one side quest where you actually get to work with the police, which was cool because there are no other side quests where you get to work with the cops. This augmented guy went into a store that said naturals only. He was trying to buy this banana with a counterfeit 20 credits while high on neon, and I got to help the cops put him down and arrest him. And like there's this huge fucking incident because he died while in custody, and like he didn't die because of anything we did. He died because he was high on neon at the time. But like the media just went wild with the story and said police brutality. And yeah, I knocked him to the ground a couple times, but it was just ridiculous. And that's a fake side quest, by the way. You get like one and then like little piecemeal bits where like maybe not all cops are bastards, but the game really pushes that all cops are bastards. And then I finished the Richard like Fallout Vault side quest where I just went in there, I snuck in the back room and I shot him. I ended up replaying it like after I had beaten the game and just going to an earlier save and like putting the suppressors around the place to shut him down, and then people realize that he's a fraud and they escape, and then they leave him down there and he's just crying in his room. He was trying to build this like place where they would be safe from the oppression upstairs, but I don't know. I hate that he's like, even though he's a bad guy, really isn't he like a pitiable guy, and he's not really so evil. And yeah, you can side against him, but I feel like the developers are really hedging you towards like feeling pity for Richard, right? Because Richard, in this case, represents leftists, and I suppose he is like actually a homosexual with that other magician guy. But yeah, a homosexual magician keeping some people underground against their will, but really he had their best interests at heart. Whatever, man. And then for that permit quest, you have to choose who you give your permits to. And I don't love this because I feel like Deus Ex is a game where it's like there's always a third option, except for right now, right here, there's only two options. So you can give it to the old guy who killed his grandson, or you can give it to the lady who's not quite all there. I decided to give it to the lady because she did not kill a child, so there you go. So Radko Perry is like a local small-time politician. He says he's against the elite liberal media who's besmirching him. He's anti-augmentation. And there was another article from a guy that I'll read out. I would like to meet to discuss the printing of a short educational tract based on my upcoming book. The pamphlet would be meant for local distribution and would be sold at a small cost to cover my printing expenses. The subject of the pamphlet and sick examination of what brought about the current and prevalent anti-augmentation mindset of the general population, including government regulation, and how it's based on erroneous data resulting from historical bias, and also excluding the historical context and significance of the augmented population. I do understand that your current political position is strongly anti-augmentation, but I do hope that as a businessman you will see the educational worth of such a pamphlet for everyone. People need to see all sides of an issue to make informed decisions, don't you think? So people are anti-aug only because of erroneous data resulting from historical bias and also excluding context and significance from the augmented population. That's the only reason why anyone would feel extremely uncomfortable or unsafe around augmented people. They're really trying to dismiss like per fucking capita to you, when per capita for the augmented people, 100% of augmented people were in the incident and committed violent acts. So there's per capita for you. But he is obviously a Donald Trump parody. He's kind of goofy looking with his hairline, and he's just silly. He has his little posters posted everywhere around his little printing press. He has like a weird porn sex dungeon place, and he's just supposed to be like a pathetic little guy. And I guess around this time, since it's 2016, there were a fuck ton of Donald Trump parodies. They were all lazy. They were all shitty and bad, and I don't like Donald Trump, by the way, in case you were curious. But still, it's like, oh, this sucks. This really fucking sucks. I ran into a church courtyard that you need a key card to get into. So I don't have that yet, so I can't really do anything there. And then I went back on the main quest. So our tech guy, Smiley, was accused of tampering at like the bombing at the train station scene, and he might be committing adultery. I don't know if there's more to this or if this was just like a weird detail to try to flesh him out as a character, but I don't give a shit about Smiley. And then you go to the bombed out train station, and you're supposed to bring Smiley the evidence that he left behind that will help us identify who the bomber was. So you can either do stealth through this area, or you can go on a murder spree. And then I went on a murder spree, and then oh, you're supposed to see a psychologist afterwards. And I'm like, that's so fucking gay. They would absolutely put a fucking psychologist in this action immersive sim game. You have to go talk to a shrink, right? But yeah, people ask me like, why did you go on a killing spree at the station? I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, the cops had ammo. I wanted ammo.
Hey, what happened at the train station? The police scanner said an augmented terrorist had returned and was attacking investigators. Smiley told me he asked you to get him something from the blast site. Was that you? Why did you attack the police?
Apparently, Miller's having a bad day back at the office, personal problems. I'll talk about Miller in a bit. And then, yeah, I have to meet the psychologist chick before I can keep going. She's a woman. It's actually, like, okay. She asked if I'm fine. Like, I thought it would be a lot worse. Like, Adam, you've had to kill people in the line of duty. How does that make you feel? I'm like, I'm playing a video game, right? I'm playing a video game. You kill a lot of people. They're not real. You know what I mean? It's just like, you don't play Halo to then like have PTSD sessions with John about like, how do you feel about these missions, John? You play it for like the killing and the fun, not this stuff. But this isn't as prevalent as I thought it would be. I thought like, oh damn, am I gonna have a debriefing with this chick like after every mission? You don't. And she has a different like kind of role purpose later on that I'll talk about when it's relevant. And that's a whole nother like giant issue with this game. Like the incident itself that the entire game revolves around is really like fucked up and it doesn't like work great. The incident happens 2 years ago. 50 million people die. All the augmented were hacked by this signal and they went crazy and on this rampage. While this huge incident does happen, none of the augmented people have any agency. They are just victims, and that's what the game wants. It's hard to like make a compelling story or narrative about that where these people are responsible for all this violence and terror, but you cannot put any blame or responsibility on them, so they're just like perpetual victims. And it's also like weird that they are oppressed in this world. Like it makes sense, but they're all like super powered. Like a guy with bionic robot arms can like crush the arms of like 50 normal men. He was like in a bar fight. He could kill everyone in the room if it was just like normal guys. I don't know. And these people can jump super high. They got super speed and strength and neural implants to think faster than everyone. So it's like, it's kind of like the mutant problem. Invincible and can like shoot fire and shit. And we like normal people just want you to be like on a list or a registry so that if you ever just like freak the fuck out and have a bad day and just start vaporizing people, that we normals have like a chance to, you know, not be slaughtered by you in that situation. And all the Human Restoration Act really is, they would just want to downgrade powerful augmentations and put a control chip in so that people cannot be hacked again. And so another incident can't occur. And if augmented people refuse to any of these demands, they would be segregated and put in a, you know, their own little communities. To me, this is completely and totally reasonable, because while the augmentations were not like in their full faculties when the incident happened, it still happened because they were augmented people. And it's like, no shit, normal people are really terrified of the augmented because they can do all this superpowered shit and they can't. The augmented don't seem to be taking any like steps, you know, to make sure they're no longer hackable, right? Like what you're saying is like another incident could occur at basically any time, and that's fucking terrifying if you're just a normal person. Yeah, like I don't see the big deal about like the, you know, suppressor chip. Augmented people are already being forced into like augmented ghettos. And if anything, this act would like be able to talk down some of the more extremist guys that just want all the augmented killed or like removed from society, because like, hey, look, there's going to be restrictions on them. Maybe you'll never feel as safe and secure as you were before the incident. But over a few decades, in a couple generations, maybe things can go back to like a cohesive, higher trust society, you know? But as is, like, no, if you're a normal human, you would never trust the augmented again. Another thing I don't really like or agree with is just like, okay, if a guy had a robotic hand and he took his robotic hand off, all the people that treat augmented like they're their own separate race or identity would he just be a normal guy? Like, no one has any beef with him anymore. Like, he's not treated like a degenerate or a homosexual. I don't know. Like, some of the language just doesn't quite work for me. I'm sure there's like fetishy people who like cut off perfectly healthy limbs to give themselves augments, but there's probably just super normal everyday people that were like missing limbs or whatever, so that's why they got augments. I feel like there would definitely be a split in that camp between guys that are like, hey, I need my arms so I can work and provide for my family, and guy who got his perfectly healthy legs cut off because he wanted to like run faster, you know? So there's not really like any nuance there. The augmented are just like one giant blob. Like, you would think that there would be like a group of augmented that would be like, yes, we want to fit in more with society. We want to get these suppressor chips, and we just want to try to work on like building the trust between the augmented and the non-augmented. But there's not really that in the game from what I remember. Yeah, just overall, I felt like the augmented are so privileged and they won't meet people halfway for this stuff. Like, hypothetically, if there's some huge event where just a bunch of normal humans were like mass mind controlled and were forced to commit a bunch of violent acts like the incident, then many people would die if like regular humans were doing the violence. But since it was augmented during the incident, it was far worse because they basically have superpowers and they're also like hackable. It could happen again and they refuse to chip. And I think like a lot of people in this world, like things wouldn't be so escalated if like the Augs would just be like, yeah, you know what? Making it sure that we can't get hacked again. That's a really great idea. We're going to do that. I don't really believe the Illuminati's plan. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's like they're forcing this like oppression, extermination narrative where it's like, you're still making a fuck ton of money off augmented people because they all need neuropozyne, and now you have the full monopoly of neuropozyne, and there's not a lot of Augs left, but like, why are you still trying to exterminate the augmented people? They're not a threat to you, dude. Like, a guy with a robot leg is not going to topple the Illuminati, so it just feels like really dumb. Like, you wouldn't have this shadowy cabal that's like really wants money and control who would like push for these guys to be wiped out. So that's just the dubs just forcing this into the Deus Ex world, and no, it doesn't really work. And then I find this weird little puppet shop that's near the task force headquarters, and it has like this huge outdoor area, and there's like some plane stuff here. This is like the hangar bay landing pad. I didn't realize that at first because I didn't get the mission for it. And I'm like, this has to be used later on, and it is used later on. And because of the Whisper chip, we learn that someone wants Miller to pin all the attacks that have been going on lately on the Augmented Rights Coalition. His boss is Manderley. We, the player, know that Manderley cannot be killed. We know that Manderley can't really be hampered in any significant way because he's in the first Deus Ex game. So it's just like, okay, what are we going to do to Manderley? We can't really like stop him or even really like expose him. Just after I finished exploring the like puppet shop, Miller calls me and tells me to meet him there. So that was great. Pilot is a black guy, Chicane. He's not great. I like Malik. Malik had a little personality. You got like that side quest with her and her sister, and it's not much, but it's something, right? It definitely gives character to her. It's more than Chicane. It's more than Jock. Jock was fine, right? But yeah, I'm not like in love with Chicane. Miller's not great. Alex is not great with the Juggernaut Collective. Chang isn't. Smiley isn't. The psychologist is okay. She feels like kind of a Megan Reed. There's Arya, who I like, but she's not really used or implemented at all, which I think sucks. And yeah, it just feels a lot weaker than like your Seraph, your Pritchard, your Malix. So whatever. And we're supposed to go to the Golem City, a ghetto, to look for the terrorist responsible for the bombing. Chicane says to us that Golem isn't a concentration camp. He says, very subtle, that we're comparing Golem City to a concentration camp. And of course, Golem being a creature from Jewish mythology. I think it's like you make it out of clay or whatever. Maybe that's a homunculus. But you make this being, and it's supposed to like slaughter the goyim for you, right? That's what Golem is. So we're talking about Jewish mythology. We're comparing Golem City to a concentration camp. Oh boy, I wonder how bad it's going to be there.
Have a heavy police presence keeping an eye on them.
Golem isn't a concentration camp. You grease the right palms, you can get the papers you need to come and go.
I find that hard to believe.
And we're finally done with Prague. I spent like 18 and a half hours here. God damn. God fucking damn. 18 and a half hours here. Rucker on the TV condemns the attack like Taggart in Human Revolution. I did question here, will they change it though and have Rucker be innocent, because Taggart was not innocent in Human Revolution. He knew about the attack and he was okay with the attack. Is Rucker going to be a good guy because Rucker represents the left wing here? Do they have the balls to make Rucker a bad guy? No. Rucker is in fact innocent, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. As we land in Golem City, we witness police brutality, quote unquote, as we fly in. The name alone, like I said, Golem City, has obvious connotations. Chicane said it's not like a concentration camp. We have a Stop the Oppression poster. You have people with missing limbs. They're begging. These people aren't getting help because they're augmented. And Golem City is everything that I hoped it would be for the augmented people. And there's a strong black female doctor asking for neuropozyne. I did not give her any. She says that ARC was started with the best of intentions. There's a dead body that I find. A guy left a letter to his mom like, hey, I'm sorry that I'm augmented. Can I come home? But he's dead. Many Augs get addicted to neon. There's cops stealing water filters here. A cop says, welcome to Golem City, clank. There's a poster where it's like, welcome to hell. It's a multi-layer junk shanty town.
Welcome to Golem City, clank.
There's a lot of police brutality here. They're brutalizing unarmed minorities. What the hell? Someone do something. Some Augs talk about some kids that threw Molotov cocktails at cops and tried to set them on fire, and the cops beat and killed one of the kids. And one of the guys basically just says that, hey, you're with us or against us, so all violence is justified, right? Like, hey, they tried to kill cops, so the cops retaliated. Cops aren't on our side, so it's fine.
A police minority brutalizing an unarmed majority. That sounds familiar.
Everywhere we go, they cops looking at us sideways, accusing us, assuming we're criminals.
Some teenagers threw Molotov cocktails at them. The cops beat them so bad, one of those poor kids died.
Well, they did try to set them on fire.
Hey, you're either with us or against us.
There's an email that I found because I had really good hacking. It's from a Victor to an Ivan. It says that Ivan will be a legend. He may have done the bombing. He did, in fact, do the bombing. And you've been hearing the most horrible things about Golem City this whole time, but did you know that they had an art museum, a library, they have regular concerts and sporting events here, a theater for music and drama, they have a swimming pool, and a flourishing cultural life. Yeah, this place really sounds like a death camp to me. Oh, wait. Sorry, that's somewhere else. There's some augmented mother that was separated from her children. That's really based in Red Pill. That was really fucking funny. Actually, I laughed at that.
You look like you still have an ounce of chivalry in you. Maybe you could break my neck for me? Or smother me with a blanket? I'd prefer if it were quick, and if there was no physical damage. I'd very much like my children to identify my body. It's been so long since they've seen me.
And apparently the cops are stealing supplies from people, and you get this scene where some cops are kicking a guy while he's down. Boys, let me tell you, yeah, it's everything that I dreamed for the augmented food. There's businesses. Like, this is a paradise for their people. But whatever, they just want to sit around and cry about it for whatever reason. So I went into the police storage supply closet, and like, while these people are starving and dying, they're just hoarding all the supplies because of course they are, because of course it's super comical. And I went downstairs. The guy that we were supposed to meet, he has been picked up by the cops. He's in his cell. Tibor asks us to help his brother, and then and I actually messed up because I went there first to him instead of going to his apartment bit. So you missed out on some XP. So I went back. So I reloaded his save to go to the apartment first and then there. So I didn't miss the XP. They've been taken to a place called the Narrows. So at this point, I maxed out my pistol with some spare parts, and that felt okay. I still think kits are better. And yeah, I have like over 400 rounds of pistol ammunition at this point. There's zero fucking scarcity. Like, if I did zero stealth at all and I just went in guns blazing every time, I would still be completely flush with ammunition. There's no point to, like, the stores. I think even if you did not, like, scrounge and search every little place like I did, you would absolutely be finding on ammunition. And yeah, I don't know, that doesn't feel like super to me. Everything with Golem City is super heavy-handed. Like, you have people dying from a lack of medical care, and the cops have this huge stockpile. There's also a praxis kit in that room, which is very, very cool. There's cops torturing a guy. It's Tibor's brother. This guy is not much help. And then that one Diwali guy, Botkavelli, or whatever his name is, he calls me and tells me to kill Galios, the shopkeep guy, and Galios is the guy who can get me to Ark. So it's the same guy. So the mob wants him killed, and I thought this was like decent conflict. I don't think it like quite pays off because it's not like a big deal because you can get into Ark really easily without Galios. So I guess if you don't want to like murder a guy, then you have to like not work with the mob. So I ended up talking with Galios and like completing a quest for him, and then I shot him and his bodyguards, so that's whatever. Found this children's play area under the stairs. I guess it's somewhat sad. It's like a nursery. Apparently the Augmented have high rates of miscarriages here. I'm like, okay, so they don't have access to children that then they can forcibly augment. I don't see that as a crime. And then, so some of the people are apparently unhappy with ARC here, the Augmented Rights Coalition. You have these food stalls. Like, you have stalls full of fresh food. It looks delicious here. What are these people bitching about? I'm hungry, I can't afford Neuropazine. You have food. You have endless supply of delicious food. Yeah, and there's even this one guy that bitches like, I have money, but there's nothing to eat. There's like a meat stall across from you, and then you have a bunch of fresh food stalls right here, but whatever. He just is trying to be this little oppression queen.
I finally have some money and tried to buy food, but there is no food. The shopkeeper told me all the vegetables he had left were rotten. I would have accepted them gratefully.
And there's some ebooks I found on Santau, the guy that made the Rabaya city out in the desert. Apparently they're moving like pregnant women out to Rabaya from here. I don't know. Galios talks about how he spied on Otkar and Otar wants him out of the way. If we kill him, then Otar can consolidate power. Radich, the like leader of the Diwali, he has an augmented leg, so that's the link to Kohler. So I played the clip and then I reloaded and then killed Galios. There's a merchant here called Entity who is a badass woman. She has some asshole X. The X is with Arc. I sold her all like the tech pieces that I found around. Unsure if it was a good deal or not. She flirts with you quite a bit.
I can't be here. My children. They have no idea what has happened. I'm a single mother. My kids, they have no idea any of this has happened. They'll come home from school and mommy won't be there and... Oh God, I have to get out of here. Someone get me out of here.
And then we're on our way to Ark and we run into Marchenko, who is this huge augmented guy with a robotic eye. He's the guy from that one email, and he's basically kind of like your huge stereotypical like Russian guy. I think he's actually Ukrainian, but he's like a more extremist, violent guy within ARC, and he admits to like terrorism. Basically, he calls me a wrench, which is I guess the equivalent of a house Negro, so that was not cool. And I'll talk about Victor more at the end, but I have no idea what he wants. He's not super clear because it turns out that he's actually like an Illuminati mole, and he is going through with like what the Illuminati wants, which is leading directly to the augmented being like destroyed. It would be one thing if the Illuminati propped up Marchenko because Marchenko's a more violent extremist and he and his guys would commit terrorist acts, which would make the world hate the augmented, and the Illuminati are just like laughing maniacally behind the scenes as they manipulate Marchenko. That would make sense. But Marchenko knows that he's a pawn and being used, so I don't like fully understand him. I don't think he's a very good villain at all. He's just like a goon, and it doesn't like feel great when you beat him because it's like, oh, I beat like a little henchman guy. I guess he has more personality than the tyrants. He looks cooler than the tyrants, but I think he just kind of sucks. But he just says like, hey, I wouldn't go in here. You might get killed, you know, but then, yeah, we leave. Oh, another like really good improvement for this game. So the Icarus landing, the AUG in Human Revolution that would make it so that you don't take fall damage, was incredibly slow. And if you fell from like not very high at all, it would play the animation and you're like, oh fuck, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. In here, the Icarus landing thing, you can fall from like a further height and the animation doesn't play. And if you do fall from a high point, the animation is much faster. It's over pretty quick. That was an absolute improvement from the first game. However, I still hate like the cutscene takedowns. I think these suck. It just kind of takes you out of the game, and I just like, make it fast, please. I've seen this animation like dozens of times at this point. I just want this shit over with so I can go back to actually playing the game, because you're stopping me from playing the game to play the little animation. Some like talking animations are like off and overdone, and sometimes like people just talk too much, like they're just giving you too much dialogue. That was like somewhat of an issue. On this Lancer rifle versus the sniper, it felt the same, so I just kept the sniper because I had already like wasted some crafting parts to upgrade it. It might be dumb, and like the Lancer rifle is the best gun ever, but whatever. Sokol, the guy that we busted out of jail, ratted us out to Ark. I go loud, I kill Sokol, and then I proceed to kill like 1,000 Ark guys. Like, it's an insane amount of like Ark terrorists that come streaming out from everywhere to come do battle with me, but I kill them all. And these guys are living it up, man. They got a gym, they got this plush room, they call cops fascist fucks, they got a printing room, they got a shit ton of food. Apparently some Russian rights female advocate was killed because, of course, like, the leader of their advocacy movement is like a strong, independent woman. Why not? There's another section of killing so many Ark guys. This area feels like maybe too big. Like, I don't know what exactly I was expecting of Golem City, but I'm like, there's a lot of like different ways you can move around like the map in these areas, and they have like layers and verticality to it. So that doesn't feel bad. I wasn't expecting Golem City to quite be this per se. And then there's this book that says no to a microchip to disable AUGs. I mean, all of the augmented people did go crazy during the incident. Feels like a decent compromise here. Yeah, I guess I felt like this level just kind of sagged a bit. There's just like too much stuff. There's too much clutter. There's too much shit to loot. I hate the crafting parts. I hate the software. I hate all the ammunition. It's like every little room you go into has some little bullshit for you to pick up, and it's just clutter, 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 clutter. Just, if it was like clean and crisp, I would have liked that much, much more. Finally, I got through, and then I met Rucker. Rucker calls all of this a genocide, which sounds fine to me.
The Augmented are suffering a genocide. It begins with demonizing us, treating us as less than human, taking away our rights, exiling us so we are forgotten, and then exterminating us.
And then you have like a boss dialogue battle. Rucker loses control of himself from like taking a drink, and then he starts turning into a monster. Actually, he's not turning into a monster, he just dies. And I thought he was like going to turn into some augmented monster that I would have to kill in like a boss battle. But after he died, it did not go well because there's still like this glitch to speak to Rucker. And then guys also were not cutting into the room like they should. So I had to reload the game. He's dead. Guys are cutting into the room. And then he has this key card, which is like in his desk behind a bottle of whiskey. It's really good to grab this because if you go into that room, there is a practice kit there. And it's just killing a shit ton of guys like before. Question of Rucker being a good guy or not. I think perhaps his whole nonviolent message, like I think there's like a gun in his safe room, but he does not know about things like the bombings per se, like the bombing at the station. He's completely in the dark about that. He had no idea what I was talking about. There's another like secret violent faction with an arc that's actually doing this stuff. This is the sleeper cell that before the Illuminati was talking about activating. That's Marchenko. So yes, the game does cuck out because Taggart knows about like the Humanity Front guys and that they're going to go do terrorist acts, and he disavows it, but secretly he's a bad guy. While Rucker gets to remain a good guy because he is in fact a leftist. I'm going to talk about violence briefly in the game. We have our left-wing augmented violence, which is to be forgiven. I think it was with chicane, but Jensen says like, hey, it's been 2 years. How long are you going to hold the incident over augmented people? Shouldn't you just let it go and be forgiving?
So no Aug can ever live down the incident, is that it?
Is this meant to be an interrogation, Mr. Shit-Hot ex-cop? Because you're dancing on my last fucking nerve.
You afraid it's going to happen again?
Listen, Frankenstein, I lost 3 men. Good men. Because one of you fucking robots had his switch.
I warned you about pushing it, didn't I? Still, that was unprofessional. Look.
We all lost something during the incident, some more than others. But the people responsible are still out there, and they need to answer for what they did. I'm not asking you to be friends, but we can't stop them as enemies.
Mismatched tools, bound by a common goal. Is that it?
Something like that, yeah.
Hell, maybe that is all we need. Suppose we just let time tell.
Right. I'll see you around, McCready.
Sure.
Left-wing violence, because the augmented, I've shown plenty of examples, are to be Jews, homosexuals, different races, minorities, that type of thing, right? Well, right-wing violence is not to be forgiven, and this left-wing violence, which happened against normal people 2 years ago and killed millions of people, is to be just let it go. Right-wing violence, not so much, and right-wing imagery is invoked. Little like segregation, like Jim Crow stuff. We're using Nazi imagery, and this is all bad and horrible and should never be forgotten. I think maybe a character even says like never again at some point. The Nazis, for example, are not forgiven for any alleged crimes. And another thing with like the incident, they always talk about like, oh, there were so many augmented people before it, and then there's only 7.1 million after. They do like a good job of like reporting about how many augmented people died during the incident, but I'm like, what about the naturals, right? Like, it's kind of the augmented's fault, but it's also like not their fault, which is the frustrating thing because it's who they are, right? They are their augmentations. So can you really blame them for being who they are? And they were misguided and completely out of control. So shit, which is like happening around the time this game is being released, like BLM riots, is just to be forgiven and just let it go, man. It's bullshit. It's you must forgive and accept left-wing violence wholeheartedly. I was questioning if Rucker could actually live here because I like failed the boss conversation battle. Rucker cannot like make it out of Golem City, I don't think, from what I looked up. I think he always has to die no matter what. But I hated it at the very end. You have this like movie ending to the level where it's like there's Chicane in the helicopter, here's you, and the game doesn't like let you run down there as you're being shot at by ARC guys. Instead, it's like, dun dun, you know, you're being shot at. It's a cutscene, and then Marchenko, just like you and him have this stare down as he like tells his men to stop firing. He's just looking at you as you depart, and it's like, what the fuck is this shit? And you fly back to Prague, and it's now night in Prague. Prague, second time. There's this newspaper. Apparently some AUG news reporter was killed, whatever. The airfield is Chicane's place, and he has some stuff around his like airfield that you can explore. A lot of side quests populate, and it felt like a little overwhelming for me. We got the meat of it done. Like, there's no way Prague second time can be as bad as Prague the first time. I had the game crash when I exited the shooting range, I think because it's just throwing your entire inventory back at you at once. Yeah, it fucking crashed, of course.
Hey, Adam.
Around the task force base, McCready talks about losing men to an AUG during the incident. Jensen says we all lost something. The AUGs are the only ones who committed the violence. It feels a little hollow where it's like, yes, I'm sure some augmented people lost something, but you still have superpowers at the end of the day, and now you refuse to give them up. I heard this bomb go off when I exited the task force area. I didn't know what this was at first. It's the watchmaker, but I didn't see anything, so I just went away. I entered this very odd apartment, and it ended up like locking me inside. It was a bit of a letdown. I thought this would be some like epic thing where you have to like escape this room because this guy in this apartment was trying to trap a Diwali guy, so he set it to be like filled with poison gas, and you just exit through this vent very easily, so it's a little like meh. So I thought it'd be something a little cooler. Oh, I went to Jim Miller's apartment. Jim Miller is kind of your British special ops guy. He's a no-nonsense, stern boss. I do not like Jim Miller. Jim Miller is in fact a homosexual. There's a photo in his apartment of him and his husband, and then there's another photo of him, his husband, and their adopted children, and apparently Jim is going through a divorce right now, so it's just super. And if you can have like one like white guy in charge, of course he has to be like a homosexual, so there you go. Just super lovely. I love it so fucking much because of course it's not bad enough that he's just gay, but of course he has to be gay and he has to adopt children and then force those children into that lifestyle because gay people are really just like you and me, of course. And then I met up with Alex because I'm still talking to the Juggernaut Collective, and I did not give her the evidence that I had. We talk about Janice a little bit. I was terrified that Janice would be revealed to be Kroller, the guy with the gauges. And I'm like, no, please, I will take like a strong lesbian black woman over Kroller. No, I wouldn't actually. I would pick Kroller. But still, Kroller would be such an awful pick for Janice. The mysterious AUGs questline it carries over from Prague the first time, and the scientist that Seraph had me look at is dead in an apartment. This guy was in contact with a Madame Photograph. Guy had a Tai Young key card for like a vault, and he also had like a report on me. On the streets, the cops are still being like brutal and shitty and oppressive and fascist. There's a drone that scans a woman just to harass her. And the red light district, which is shut down during the day, there's no way inside, is now available to go into. Never been to a red light district. I guess that's really just like an Amsterdam thing, maybe other parts of Europe. But you have women behind like glass doors in these little creepy rooms, and they like dance for you. I guess this is like Amsterdam. There's one guy on the street who has a bag of chips. I thought he had some good dialogue. I'll let that play.
This is nothing but a den of debauchery and immorality, but I wouldn't expect an AUG to understand that. Prague used to be such a nice city, a family-friendly city. Look at it now. The only family it is friendly to runs the red light district itself.
You do see some Japanese influence with the Temptacle building. There's like a cigar lounge, and then there's the Red Queen, which is kind of your strip club, whorehouse place. And in the Red Queen bar, You have some strippers. You have some room upstairs. You have a developer whore. I have to show her off. I have to show her off to you. But she's like in the top in one of those like glass doors facing the street. She's a big girl. This is like, yeah, this is your game developer leftist woman. Isn't she beautiful? And in this entire place, you have a bunch of rooms, right? You have a bunch of like rooms that are empty that are obviously to be used for sex. You do have one pair in the entire place, and this is not subtle. This is not happenstance. This is on purpose. This is what the developers wanted, but the only room that is occupied is a white woman and a black man. And so the white woman has paid money to have sex with the black man, and there you go. Then you have a Masa Kadlect, who is this kind of ugly girl boss woman who runs the Red Queen, and she's like a mafia. She has one son who like works as a bartender, I think, maybe like a nephew who works as head of security, or maybe that's another son. And then she has a niece who actually works at the Red Queen because it's a family business. This is a family business, Mr. Jensen. So her niece works as like a stripper whore, and sons that run the bar and security. It's incredibly bizarre. It's such bad fucking writing. You would never have a woman you know work there. This is just dumb pro-sex shit.
I know these kinds of places breed violence. Doesn't matter where it is, Eastern Europe or Hensha. It's all the same.
The Red Queen is a family business. My eldest son works the bar. The other does security upstairs. Come in on the weekend, and you'll meet one of my nieces, Agnieszka. She's the late show. You see, around here, nothing comes before family.
If you were a sleazy greaseball and you owned a strip club, you would not have your daughter or any woman in your family work at that establishment. That is fucking crazy, right? That is absolutely insane. I can't think of like anyone that would be like involved in a criminal organization and they would have their family do like demeaning shit like that. Like, yeah, I could see like your son working security or as a bartender. That makes sense. But like, yeah, my niece, she works as a whore here. And even if she doesn't prostitute herself, she works as a stripper. Are you fucking kidding me? It doesn't work. It absolutely does not work. She wants us to take out Dominic and then put him in a storage locker undetected. Dominic, as she says, is her nephew, and he's like getting in close with the Diwali, and she doesn't want this, and she can't just go into Diwali territory and do it herself. So she has to send you. When I went into the Diwali area, there's this guy that killed an augmented whore. Dominic's place is like pretty close to the Red Queen, right? And you're supposed to like put his body in the storage locker undetected. So I took out everyone in this little apartment building that was Diwali. And then I'm like, okay, how am I going to get Dominic there? What you should do is go back through the balcony that you came in on and bring Dominic down that way, not going out the front way. So, of course, I tried to go out the front way, and there's a shit ton of guards around, and I'm like, okay, I guess I have to take out all these guards and do it with stealth. So I'm a retard, by the way. I'm fully admitting and acknowledging that, but there's this entire opera house which is full to the fucking brim with Diwali guards, and I spent hours, literal like hours, maybe like 2 or more, going around and stealth bringing people down and trying to not raise an alarm, reloading saves, and I'm exploring the bowels of this place, and I'm like, why is this so big? This is just me putting Dominic in the fucking storage locker. What's going on? How am I getting so lost? Like, why is this mission so big? And then when you get into like the bottom of the theater, there's a small room with a guy with 2 whores. It's Radich. It's like Radich of the Diwali crime family. He's like the crime boss. I wandered into the like criminal fortress and I didn't even fucking realize it at first. But yeah, that's Radich. So yeah, it took forever. I think it's supposed to be part of a totally different quest, or it's just there and it's supposed to be optional. I just like choked Radich out and I looted some shit. There is a panel on his wall that has a Praxis kit in it, so don't miss that if you do play. Kind of drag Dominic back up through the balcony. I threw him. He doesn't take fall damage, so it was totally fine. I thought I would kill him if I went over the balcony because I was overthinking it. But yeah, I threw him in the storage locker. I locked him up. He's a real heavy sleeper. I have a Nomad Stanek, who is the watchmaker whose place got blown up. He has a sick daughter, so that's the lead on the train station bombing. His daughter, Allison, looks like this goth freak with mascara running down her face. It's a little weird. And then Raditch is talking to us on the computer. Kind of had a question about how Raditch is talking to us exactly when he's unconscious back in the opera house, but I thought maybe this is just a recording, so it's fine. Outside, you got some hologram whores. Those are kind of nice, actually. At the bank, this was kind of funny. There's guards now. The glass is still shattered from my previous rampage. There are no bodies anywhere, but yeah, it's very bizarre. A bunch of shit has been reset, but not the glass. I cannot use the elevator because I still don't have a VersaLife card. So even though I have a key card to go downstairs, I can't do anything with it right now. Alex wants me to use the NSN machine, which transports you into a virtual world, because we can get information from what Miller talks about when he uses the machine. So we use that. Yeah, it's very weird and futuristic. I don't hate it exactly. It's kind of interesting as a one-off. I don't think it's great, but it's sort of a weird sci-fi thing. You do get to see Bob Page and Manderley because you go into the system as Jim Miller, and then you're replaying conversations that have been saved. They're waiting for Brown to make a move. The VersaLife break-in was planned. When we exit the machine, the psychologist was out in Miller's office, at his computer, and she wants us to find this deep cover agent. She refers to Manderley by his first name, and a little odd, right? That she's in Miller's office, that she's at his computer. She gives us a flimsy excuse for why she was there. The guy that she wants us to find is Vincent Black, who was supposed to meet this informant, and we meet this female informant at the Red Queen. The woman is betraying her husband. They cheat on each other, and then I'm supposed to meet her somewhere else. I thought maybe she would be killed in between the Red Queen and the place I was supposed to meet her, but no, she's fine. The informant we meet wants to trade her husband's smuggling operation for a new life, so we go check out the smuggling location. There's this crying black woman in a locker. She says she was a part of a radical group when she was in college, and that's why she's being harassed by the authorities. She doesn't want to get deported to Golem. I do not get the option of saying that Golem City is actually great or good for augmented people. I think that's such bullshit. You have to say Golem City sucks, but maybe make the best of it. Guys show up to ambush you. Vince Black is apparently dead. We have a little shootout here. No one makes it out alive. I guess during the gunfight, they just shot this unarmed black woman. There's nothing I could do to save her. I don't know what happened, but she's in a better place now. I found Vince's dead body. He apparently told some woman, I guess a prostitute, about his true life, and it ended up getting him killed. Then I tell Alex that, I want to meet Janice. So I'm about to meet Janice. Cruller or Pritchard? If it's Pritchard, I think that would be amazing. I think that would be fantastic. It's probably going to be a woman or a minority, or it's going to be the Epstein chick. Turns out it's a video call, and it's an AI generating random faces, so you have no idea who it is. He's sending me to the Palisade Bank. I just did that opera house bullshit. I'm going in loud. Drones ambush you, and you have to fight your way out of that. So Janice is never revealed in this game who it is. Apparently, it is this bald guy that appears during Illuminati meetings. I forget what his name is. He is really not much of a fucking character, and I think that really sucks. better than like a lot of the ideas and suggestions that I was throwing out, but it's still like not good, you know? Like if it was Pritchard, it'd be like, damn, Pritchard, that's cool. And then like Malik gets tied in somehow or whatever, like even Sarah for something, that would have been neat. And now you have a choice here. You have a choice between the bank heist or rescuing Nomad Stanik's daughter, Allison, who is with the Church and the Machine Gun, that church that you couldn't get into before. That's what this mission is about. I went with the bank. I did end up, after I beat the game, reloading to play the Allison mission. I'll talk about the Allison mission after the bank. I went berserk. I just shot down and mowed all the guards down. I found this Praxis kit in the secret vent room. And now you can finally head down into the vault. This feels like fine, like for like a big like heist mission. I guess maybe it would have been more intense if it was just like stealth. But just going in loud, you kind of clear everything and you're like, oh, this is okay. Once you like go down, there's some more guards. There's some like lasers and doors shut down if you trigger the alarms. Then you have to go hack the alarm panels. There's some robots. It's really not much. It's a fairly short little mission here. I would say it's a little disappointing. And then you get to the vault. There's a VersaLife vault that's been called down. You hear Megan talking to Bob Page about a GARM facility. I thought, all right, finally, Megan Reed. She is involved with the baddies. She's going to be a part of the story. We're going to get some fucking resolution between the two of us. Bob calls himself King Bob in email. I thought this was really cute.
Hello?
Bob, it's Megan. Those orchid samples you told my new assistant to send to Switzerland?
I asked him not to bother you with that.
It's okay. I told him he could. But it's just, I've never heard of this GARM facility before.
A recent acquisition. I'll have to take you there someday.
That's not necessary. Listen, the changes we made to the orchid's Cas enzymes, they're incredibly dangerous. Until we perfect the replacement-based fragment, GARM's researchers must keep a neutralizing enzyme on hand.
I've read your reports, Megan. I know all about the failures of the CRISPR molecule. I'm even keeping a sample of the neutralizer inside a secure vault in case your research gets corrupted.
You are?
Trust me, you have nothing to worry about.
Thank you. I just wanted to be sure this time. Good night, Bob.
Good night, my dear.
And this is something that I did later, but you have some other vaults here. Like I had a key card to one vault, and that just gave me a bunch of loot. There is a key card to the Picus vault, which gives you a lot of information and data. You get the Picus key card by going in this one apartment that has a camera that you examine and it opens up a secret panel. The key card is in there. Do that, I guess. But you have an email in the vault that shows that Taggart was a member of the Illuminati. He's dead now, but yes, he was a member of the Illuminati. And yeah, the Picus Vault just had some stories about Panchaea. There's some like Bob and Morgan stuff, and like they talk about the Morpheus project, but that was really it. And you can also see if you use an EMP grenade or anything that like makes light. This is weird, and I saw this only after I had beaten the game, and it's very odd, and I don't know exactly how I feel about it. I don't think I care too much, but if you go to one of the like little boxes in the vault, and you use like an EMP grenade, you can light up, because there's like little glass panels that you can look into. There is an Adam Jensen in one of those boxes. It's never addressed in the game, but the big fan theory is that you are like a clone and you died during Panchaea 2 years ago. This doesn't really like change anything or like do much for me, because it's like, okay, Adam Jensen is dead. You're the new Adam Jensen. You are a clone, but you have like all of his memories. Yeah, it's weird and kind of awkward, but like, I don't know. I think it's okay. It doesn't like change too much for me, but that's a little like weird Easter egg that I didn't know about, but that's a little crazy. If you go down through the vault area, it will lead you to the parking garage, and then you can like exit through this big fan. There's a bunch of cops outside, so I got another huge fight with them. You can actually, if you really want to, use grenades to blow up the fan from like the parking garage to go in, and you can blow up the fan, or you can use remote hacking, go down a ladder, go through a level 5 door, or I guess have a multi-tool, and then you can be in like the vault area where like you can get to Picus and VersaLife and whoever, And like, that's really cool. I did not know you could do that, but I did that, after I beat the game, and I'm like, that was really neat. I ran into the lady that tried to recruit us to go to Rabbi earlier. We talk a bit. There's like a arc choice, and it humanizes the terrorists because, of course, it does. Because, again, we're augmented. Because, of course, you have to side with arc. Crawler calls me and says that he can fix my system now. Arya calls to say that someone was killed near my home.
God, right outside your apartment?
What happened outside my apartment?
Someone got all their implants torn out. Was left to bleed to death in the alley. When I first heard where it was, I thought...
I'm fine, Arya. It wasn't me.
Be careful going home. It's not the first one of these I've heard about.
The psychologist sent me an email about Victor. The email about Victor is not super useful, but it's whatever. I go under the knife of Crawler again. This does not unlock more augs. It just prevents overheating. So even though I didn't really use any experimental augs, this never really affected me. I guess this is good. It's a good thing to do. I guess you wouldn't have the option to do this if you didn't do the Mafia missions. But while I did have more augmentations that I was interested in Human Revolution, I still came to a point where it's there's nothing that I'm super excited about here. The woman who was killed was an AUG woman who was a journalist. She was looking into an anti-AUG politician, Radko Perry, of course. You have an Antifa guy filming a cop with a smartphone. This detective was told to not look into the case too hard. He wants to lay the blame at the victim's husband's feet. One of the witnesses says that the killer was cutting the evil out. It is time to make you whole again. The one mission of decent length where you can side and work with the police to talk to the ex-husband, and on the way I get a paperwork check again, and the paperwork check is of course to annoy the player, remind you who the bad guys are, who wants to side with the cops because they're taking away they're stopping you from playing the game. So of course you're not going to like the cops. Johnny Gunn is an alcoholic. The husband can't have done it because he has no fingerprints, because he has augmented arms. I went to check on Melina Epstein. She is not at the toy store anymore, and the AUG gallery has been destroyed, so the crazy girl isn't there anymore. Apparently in Golem City, you could run into whoever you didn't give a permit to. I didn't see the old guy. Maybe he was there and I just didn't notice him. Whatever. I go to check on Radko Perry. He is scrubbing his posters clean because someone graffitied them. He hates AUGs. He has no alibi for that night. His basement, like I said before, has a bunch of sex. This tacky, neon light woman. There's this blackmail photo with Radko with this augmented woman in a compromising position. The journalist was trying to blackmail Radko and get him to change his politics. There's also a woman on Radko's computer that you can talk to, because you can kind of message people on some computers. And this woman, Ivanka, wants money to not blackmail him. There's also this bear head downstairs because there's bear fur at the scene of the murder. There are previous victims that also had black bear fur near them, so they think maybe this is a serial killer doing it. So I'm oh, our Trump stand-in is going to be a serial killer too, unless the AUG whores gave him an alibi. Turns out that both men are innocent, and he does have an alibi because he was doing weird sex shit with these augmented women, because of course your right-wing politician is actually secretly a hypocrite, right? And that does sometimes happen, right? But it is rather cliche. So we tell the cops that neither of these men are guilty right now, so don't arrest anybody. So they don't arrest anyone. And the witness to the crime is Daria, and she says hey, I'll be in contact if I need help or whatever. She's actually your upstairs neighbor, or she lives in your apartment building, and she has a bunch of cats. And this is the point where I finish all my side quests before going to the Garm facility. Kane says AUGs outcompeted all labor jobs. Good reason to hate them.
His name was Lachlan Beats. He was a laborer. Worked in the mines up near Bendigo before everything went to hell. Beats was a family man who did what he thought he had to do in order to provide for his family. See, back then, nobody could compete with you AUGs when it came to manual labor jobs. So, he made a choice. if you can call it that.
So I didn't do this until I had beaten the game, but I'm just going to talk about it now. I did the Machine God quest. I took care of some violent extremists that had taken over this apartment complex. These augmented people basically wanted to all join together like digitally and just like abandon their flesh bodies. I had to put down some terrorists, all of them. I had to put down all of the terrorists. We meet Allison upstairs where she's about to join like this weird tower thing to like download herself, and basically they all die. I did fail the boss dialogue once. They all fucking die. She wants all non-augmented people dead, embrace the singularity, blah, blah, blah. I fucked it up the first time. She kills herself. I suppose I'll reload. And I did reload. I was able to talk her down, and she gets arrested. Apparently later on, she appears in like the jail cells of your task force building. I went down there the first time I went there, and there's like one Diwali henchman that you can't really talk to. Since this was after I beat the game, I was not going to like keep playing until the point where maybe she appears down there, maybe not. I think this is like kind of a letdown. We did get like that really, really good scene with Walton Simmons and the NSF terrorists in the holding cells. Like that was a good little moment, but here I didn't like really see it. And I don't know, it's like it's this augmented woman that's dealing with trauma, so even though she's bad, isn't she really like still kind of a victim? All right, I'll roll my eyes at that. They're in the apartment building still. The police are here. They're arresting the cultists. I don't know how they found any cultists left alive to arrest. I decided to help the police by dispatching these violent extremists, and the police did not thank me here. And in fact, they started shooting at me. It was very bizarre, but I shot all the augmented violent extremists who were trying to kill me, and then I left the building as the police wrongfully tried to shoot me. There's a glitched out ad panel. This is actually like when you leave the like landing area of Chicane's place. And I did not notice it at first, but it's there. It asks you for help. The pawn shop that I had been to before that had just like a bunch of computers in its basement. That is a part of this quest. There's this computer woman. She says that she's afraid of him. She wants us to find memories. Her name is Hell, like the Missing Link DLC. And like at the very end of the game, the crazy hybrid computer women. Yes, like that. Some mercs show up. They were hired by Morgan Everett. We had this guy who was posing as like a store clerk. He is actually one of the bad guys. He says, "I can't believe you fell for the fetch quest." The drone women are dead. Eliza is kind of a part of this. She wants to know what she is, like what her purpose is. She is like a fragment of Eliza, but she's not like a part of the Eliza, which is still like under Picus Media. So that's where that quest kind of ends. I checked out another point of interest. There's like a papers check here. There's this mysterious stalker who is a cop that was put off duty following the bombing. He thinks we bombed the station. He's been following us. The guy has survivor's guilt. This mission, you just talk him down and it's over in like less than 5 minutes. I guess this was like a little something that they felt they were required to put in to like humanize the police. So it's like that. There's the one like desk jockey cop who was investigating the murder. And then like I think the only other thing you get is like that one female cop that just commits murder in broad daylight to kill that one corrupt guy shaking augmented people down. I found this apartment which has a bunch of scratched out photos. It ain't looking so good. This was a guy fired from Palisade. There's another apartment, a woman running from an abusive husband, a super small one that was called like Good Cop, Bad Cop. A cop tried to help some augmented people. Corrupt cops killed him. Super small. It's like not even like a mission or anything really. Farm, we are set in the snowy mountains. You approach this door. The door is booby-trapped and you get blown up and knocked back. Victor is here with the gold mask guys from Dubai. He injects us with something. They said that they were warned that we were coming. He's working with like Picus and the Diwali. Nice of them not to steal any of my shit. And instead of just murdering us there and then, he just injects us with this thing, which is supposed to kill us slowly and be super painful. Frankly, Saturday morning cartoon bullshit that the developers couldn't come up with something better than just the villain could kill you, but they just choose not even like wait 2 minutes to see if we're like actually dying of the orchid, which we don't die from, by the way. You can contact either Alex or you can contact Miller, so the black woman or the gay guy. You know those trolley problems where you have to like pick one person to get run over by the trolley, and that for some of those trolley problems you can choose to have like the trolley run over both people? I would pick the option where you can run over both people. I contact Miller because I'm like, I don't know, he's white. I guess that's where I go, like where he's gay but he's white, you know, versus like a strong black woman. I think you kind of pick Miller in that situation. Yeah, I thought Orchid was going to be like some dumb bioweapon to kill all augmented people. That's not exactly what it is. I'll talk about it more. You can move around this big drill to make a hole so you can like bypass some stuff. I still like went around just killing people. There's like no room for ammo for me, but I went to the next room and then I killed like 20 people, so then I had room to pick up ammunition, so that was nice. I did like this big cylinder just hanging in the middle of this room, and like the rooms are okay. They're big, they're open, you know, that's not bad. I wish you kind of spent more time outside, but I would say that this is definitely like better design than what we were getting in Human Revolution. Apparently, Victor has a bomb that was planted in his head. I guess this is like a prototype version of like the Anna has like the phrase, I think it's like land something woman, and she blows up. So I guess this is like an early version of that. There's some dead ARC soldiers with champagne. What were they celebrating? They say something is happening in Prague. This is a super short mission, and then we are immediately back into Prague. This is not great. This kind of sucks. Like, this is like maybe the shortest mission so far. It's like, it's incredibly short. All of your time is in Prague. And some of that is okay, but a lot of it like isn't. Like Deus Ex, like the original game, you are a globetrotter in the original game. Even in Invisible War, you went to like Cairo and Detroit, or not Detroit, I'm sorry, like Seattle and Germany. Like, you had a few locations. Human Revolution, you definitely got around. Like, yes, you did spend a good amount of time in Detroit, but you went to like Hangsha, Panchea, Montreal. That fucking sucked. But like, yeah, you had like more, but this like very, very briefly in the snowy mountains of, I think, Switzerland, and then you're back in Prague. And we're in Prague until we go to London, and I'll talk about London later, but holy shit, London sucks. So Prague, the third time, it is night. Again, it is also raining, and martial law has been declared. Cops gun down a guy in front of you during a cutscene. They killed a citizen and not an AUG, in fact. The game makes you go to a limb clinic. You don't have a choice to go to Miller first. Brown from the Santow group is involved and all this stuff is going on. Basically, there's like a war with the cops now. There's barricades, turrets. The cops literally are putting people in cages on the streets. Again, it just like made me roll my fucking eyes. I can't really think of any example of the cops putting people like in literal fucking cages on the street of arresting people. Sure, maybe at the border they put people in the cages, and that's fucking fine. You're committing a crime entering this country illegally. You should be in a fucking cage. But it's just stupid. It's so overdone. It's comical to the degree that they go to portray the cops as these horrible people. And not that I'm like a big cop guy, but I know when they're getting the shit end of the stick. If it's like cops or BLM and Antifa, I'm siding with the cops. Every single time, I'm siding with the cops, if that's who, those are the combatants. The leftist conspiracy guys call, and also Daria calls about that killer. She says that the killer's back. Seraph now calls about the mystery AUG's questline, and then he says that, well, some questions maybe don't have answers. So Delara speaks to us. That's the psychologist. She was attacked during the incident by a 13-year-old girl. The girl then jumped out of a window. The scars we carry are like armor. Blah, blah, blah. How fragile it all is. Really, the scars we carry are like armor. Really, are we better off as a society because of the BLM riots? Are we really stronger? Like all the shit that got burned down, all the people that were killed, everything that was stolen, people losing that sense of security in their lives. It's like armor. We should really view leftist violence as this welcoming experience that just makes us stronger, you know? We learned something from it.
You know what I think? I think we're stronger than that day. I think the scars we carry are like armor now.
Like armor? I like that.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah, I think the doctor is okay. I thought she would be worse, but I think she's okay. Chang thinks that Janice has a mole in the task force. Yeah, like I said, you got people in cages in the rain. And when you use the subway now, I kind of like this. Trains aren't running, so it's just you walking along the subway track. I thought that was okay. The Machine God Church is now open. There are lots of generators in there, body bags. Also, when you go in the vents there, it's raining. Yeah, the weird cyber tower. The cyber tower now has a bunch of dead people strapped to it, and she was speaking with Marchenko. So if you do the heist quest like I did the first time, and then you can still like explore the Machine God area, I don't think you can explore the bank if you choose Machine God and not bank. The Samadzet, the conspiracy guys side quest, you go down in the sewers to help them out. The smile on my face when I went into the sewers and I saw Melina Epstein there, I was so excited. She is my favorite girl. Apparently the police raided them. Kay, their leader, has been taken in by the cops along with some other guys. They're jury rigging an underground railroad. They want me to bust out the guys in jail. Cat Lady's side quest says that the bad guy is there. So I thought since the detective is also there that maybe the detective was the bad guy. Or maybe it was going to be like Radko and we have to fight Radko and rescue the girl. And then I thought maybe she's the killer because she has like needles in her apartment. And I mentioned bear fur before, and like Radko had like a bear head mounted in his basement. This chick has a like bear pelt rug. It's really weird because I always overlooked it because I had raided her apartment like the first time I was doing Prague, and I just never really noticed it, but yes, it's there. There's a bear rug. So you follow this blood trail down to the sewer. She's tied up, and it's fake. She says that she can make us human again. I think she was the daughter of the first serial killer who was put to death a few years ago, and I'm legitimately a bit surprised that she was the killer, that you would have, well, maybe I'm not that surprised, but I'm like, you have a woman as the killer, so that's the part that threw me, but she is like a blonde white woman, so maybe it was okay for her to be the killer. I talked to the detective. I'm able to talk my way out of it. He tells me to go. I like had some evidence that I could have given him, but it didn't come up. Maybe if I like just gave him evidence during the conversation, that would have worked. So I don't know. A positive portrayal of a cop. Maybe 3 police officers in this game are okay-ish people. Every other cop is harassing you for your papers and stopping you from playing the game. They're putting people in cages. They're beating augmented people. And like you're like in open warfare with the police above ground. And I'm just like massacring the cops whenever I come across them. So for the journalist guys, when I bust them out of their little jail cells, I've already killed all the cops. So the streets are completely clear. So I just escorted them to this empty store through empty streets. Near the red light district, Eliza does a distraction for us, which I don't really use. The Red Queen has new management. So the Otar guy has now taken control of the Diwali family, so Radich is gone, and I guess this woman is gone too. And people are talking about like there are riots in Golem, and the riots were apparently nowhere near the city, and the cops were just using this as an excuse to declare martial law. I met Otar at the theater. Radich had an accident, and then he says that, yeah, Radich sent some guns and stuff to London, so he thinks that's where Marchenko is going, and London is going to be hit next at the Safe Harbor Conference, which is the guy who is building Rabia City. He is like getting investors for it. This really confused me during the second time I was in Prague. When you like go into Radich's office, it says like opening Diwali vault, and I'm like, whoa, there's a vault down here. And I looked and looked and looked. I could not find a vault. I got very confused, so I just left. Weird area you can like break into, and it like leads you to the sewers, so whatever. Turns out this like weird little area, which is just a shortcut to the sewers, that is the vault, quote unquote. I think that's bullshit and mislabeled, because you kind of imagine a lot of treasure. So yeah, that is the vault here. I went around to the bank just to check it out. The outside doors to the bank are locked. You can enter the bank still by going to the parking garage and then to the sewers and then up to the bank. You still can't do like much here. You're still locked out of the vault, so I just left. Bank, like everything gets reset there, like all the doors and keypads. So you could go in and hack everything for the XP and credits. I chose not to. I'm fucking done with hacking, man. I just don't want to do it. It's not fun. I did it too much in Human Revolution, and it really like burned me out. And already in Mankind Divided, I'm like, I am not having a good time with this. I went back to the Ruzicka station. This is actually just an accident by me, but there's like a little memorial here that you can check out. You can't like explore the station at all, but the memorial is kind of cool. I met Alex in my apartment, and Reed was working on Orchid, and Orchid is supposed to like help augmented people, but for now it's like toxic. So then I left to go meet Miller. We're on our way to London. I've like done all the side quests from what I know, all the points of interest, blah blah blah, and now we're going to London. And for London, you're supposed to have 3 missions left. I want to say I beat everything in London in like maybe an hour and 20 minutes at the absolute top. I think it was probably sub 1 hour for the last 3 missions of this game. The game is absolutely rushed. I understand that like it's EA and they cut like the game in half and blah blah blah, but still it's like insane for the amount of time that's in Prague. And then I'm like, oh, London, I'll get 3 missions there. That'll be like good. That'll be decent. No, it's in fact dog shit. Miller gives a speech that I'll play.
I don't have to tell you what's happening. You know the drill. There are people down there. Radical, augmented people who've been sidelined by this world and who think the only way to stop the oppression is by tearing down everything in their way. Their grievances may be just. Maybe they should be heard, but never on these terms. The world may be going to shit, but we're here to stand against the chaos. Every one of the guests down there are counting on us to keep them safe. Let's make sure we do.
Miller kind of justifies all of the Aug's anger in his speech. He condemns violence, but still it's very much like yeah, aren't the Augs like technically correct and all that shit. You meet Brown, he's the big investor guy. I checked out the roof, and like there's some stuff you can hack and break into to get some loot, and then you're going down into the building. You're just trying to prevent Marchenko from carrying out his terrorist act. I like tried to hack this terminal. I got shot. They were saying that Marchenko's men were here, so I kind of spoiled myself a little bit because you're supposed to talk to the security guy, question like, what's going on here? This is weird. This guy's acting funny. So Marchenko and his goons have like replaced the security guys, and they're trying to pass themselves off as regular security. There's like bloodstains on the wall. You can like play stealthy, right? Because you can play stealthy and not alert Marchenko about like what you're doing, and the guys are like, try doing it without being noticed. So I had 75 biocells at this point. I had cloaking unlocked, but I never really used it. So I started using cloaking, and I just like would sprint through areas with cloaking and like silent footsteps on. And I did a few parts where like I got information and be like, oh my God, the head of security, he's fucking dead. So I did that. And then I got to this area where it's a big party and there are 11 security guards. You're supposed to knock out 11 security guards, and if you can do it stealthily, that's even better because one of them has like a key card or information that you need. So I got off the elevator. There's like a party goer, there's a camera, and then there's a security guard. I wasted probably here like maybe 20 minutes or more because I wasted so much fucking time trying to be stealthy here. I could knock out the woman and the security guard before the camera saw me, but by the time that I knocked them out, I would try to like hack into this door to get the bodies in there. not enough time. The camera would spot the bodies. Marchenko would talk to you on a cutscene, blah, 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 and then I would reload the save. Over and over and over, I did this until I got it down to where knock out the woman, knock out the security guard, break the glass, open the door, drag both bodies inside, but that actually was not fast enough either, and I tried that plan for a while. That is not fast enough, so I had 2 praxis points, just enough to get remote hacking, and I was able to stun the security camera for 30 seconds. I broke into the room, I hacked the terminal to shut all the cameras off, and then I could drag the bodies inside, and everything was fine. From there, I then had to sneak my way through this party. It wasn't like bad. It wasn't hard to do. It was just like, all right, we're going slow. So I ended up knocking out all 11 security guards, getting the information that I needed. McCready has probably been poisoned. Miller has been hurt in catering. Champagne has been tampered with. We saw like poisoned champagne at the Garm facility. Victor calls us, threatens to bomb civilians if we take too long. This is actually on a timer, but it is like a very generous timer. You can save the delegates or stop Marchenko. You can actually do both. So I ended up going to fight Marchenko, and I am able to run in and also save Brown and the delegates. Miller is dead. I think I fucked up, and I probably could have saved him because I did get the Orchid stuff. The Marchenko fight overall is fine. He kind of has a plasma cannon. He has some like drones that assist him. He's a big guy that moves around a lot. I could see like maybe some people having some trouble with this if they're not like more combat focused, but I thought this was like a fairly easy fight. Like I beat it on my first try. It wasn't bad at all. But like Marchenko does not feel like end boss level material. He feels like he's a goon. He's a heavy. He's a mid-level boss, right? And when you defeat him, I didn't feel like much. I'm like, oh, that was it with Marchenko? Okay, bye. I'm like, okay, I guess that's done. And I just rushed through a bunch of goons to get to Brown and the delegates and warn them about the champagne so they don't drink it and they don't die. And when I save Brown and the delegates, you get a little cutscene, and then it says, you have unlocked New Game Plus. No way that that's the fucking game. I unlocked New Game Plus. No fucking way that that's it. The London missions are over so fast. You have 3 missions that take place in rapid succession, all within the same building. And it's like boom, 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 boom. 10 minutes, maybe 20 to 30 minutes. You're done with 3 missions in a fucking hour. It's crazy. What a joke. Then you cut to your apartment. You're with Alex and you're watching Eliza on the news. The Human Restoration Act looks like it will fail. Pikus says Rucker died of alcoholism, not the orchid poisoning. And she just talks about various things that happened in the game as you just watched the TV. Can't believe that this is the end, that this is really it. Jensen and Alex, they talk about stopping Paige and Manderley. The Illuminati cannot be exposed. Manderley and Paige are present in the first game. We know that these 2 characters cannot die. What's exciting? What's at stake here? All we really have is Adam Jensen and his story, and frankly, Adam Jensen isn't super interesting. I think if their big reveal was going to be that Adam's actually a clone, it wouldn't have been like the mindfuck that they wanted. It would have been like, okay, was that your big shock for the story? You didn't have anything else? I can't believe that we end here. Silhouette, the French like group from the first game, they're appearing. Ark has been labeled as terrorists. Janice, Megan, the Illuminati does nothing but talk a couple times. Nothing has been answered. This was very lacking. The Mystery Augs quest line, what a fucking letdown. Yeah, there's nothing more of the Illuminati. It feels, there is a mid-credit scene with the Illuminati talking, and then the head of the Illuminati, that rich French guy, is speaking with the therapist. The therapist gives a report on us, says that we're close to contact with Janice. What the fuck? There is no final credit scene, but it's here. And it's like, okay, so the psychologist is working for the bad guys. And I did get caught up in it, but like, yeah, she is like checking out and snooping in Miller's office. So probably fairly obvious that she is bad. but she's just like a Megan-esque character where like here's like your soft female character that like likes you or is kind to you, and then whoa, she's with the bad guys. I don't know. I don't think the game needs like 2 Megans. And yeah, there's nothing with Megan, dude. Like there was like barely anything with Megan in Human Revolution, and I thought we'd get some resolution there, and there just wasn't. The whole question of the augmented overall, like why do the augmented get access to non-augmented people? If non-augmented people all got together because we all love democracy, right? And the non-augmented, the naturals, say, we don't want augmented to live here. We put it to a vote, and we voted for you to get the fuck away from us. Is that bad? Is democracy now bad and demonic, and we have to get rid of democracy? Because it seems like the majority of the people don't want augmented people around them. So what's wrong with that? Are they just ignorant, and we have to re-educate them? What the fuck is wrong with freedom of association? Why can't they just have areas that they want, you know, like, hey, I don't want an augmented person in my business because, yeah, you know what? You could get hacked again and then just start killing some of my patrons, so go away. The augmented story, it was not very good or compelling. I decided to play the Jensen stories. These are the DLCs for the game. Mostly overall, they kind of suck. But I started with Desperate Measures. The first one has you working with Peter Chang. This is about investigating the bombing at the station. So he was in contact with a woman who says that she has some info about the security footage about the bombing. I meet the woman. Apparently Tarvos, the security group, came in and corrupted the data. We go to a lockdown station. Your inventory does not carry over for this DLC or for any of the DLCs. These DLCs are taking place, 2 of them, not the Criminal Past one, but Desperate Measures and System Rift are taking place like during Prague. These could be happening during any point of the main game. It's complete bullshit that nothing carries over, and you get like praxis points that you can use, but frankly, for such short DLCs, you don't want to be like wasting time and crafting a character and a play style, and you have to scrounge for like ammo and just like any weapons. It sucks, man. I think that this was done just to pad out the runtime of these DLCs because, like I said, they're very short, but it was just frustrating because it's like, okay, I just spent like 40 hours playing this game. I have a bunch of shit. I have all these guns. They're all upgraded. I have all my AUGs decked out. And now I don't get to use them. In a Criminal Past, it makes sense. It does not make sense for the first 2 DLCs to limit you in this way. There was this like weird little Coomer guy's office, whatever. Apparently the guy we're after, he's like a lieutenant. He's Whitaker's brother-in-law. That guy like did the attack. This guy tries to kill me, I think because I was just on a murder rampage. That's why I don't like have another option to take him in. I escape, and then it's back to Chang. That's it. That's so fucking short. I think this DLC was a part of like the augment your pre-order bullshit. Released it, you know, like for free for everyone. Then we have System Rift. I actually really loved the opening to this DLC. Pritchard contacts you over your TV. He is like vetting this company, and his contact on the ground in Prague has gone missing. I'm checking it out. I get checked by the police for papers again. There are some like badass women here to stop me from meeting this contact in this bar. It's like a full female team that's stopping me. I just sneak around them. Pritchard wants me to look at some files inside the Palisade, not Palisade Bank, but it's another like Palisade building. You have this very based bar that will not serve augmented people. I love it. We talk to the contact who doesn't want to get involved with it because they're like, hey, look, I work at Palisade. This is crazy. Pritchard has no chance here trying to like get a look at these files. So he's done, but we get like the shit that he had. I go outside and I confront the anti-aug people. I don't know why they're all female. Also, the leader is bald. I think that this is to invoke like skinhead imagery. I go to this holographic bar, which is like an interesting concept. Hey, we have like the same bar and layout all over the world. So if you're like in one country and you sit at this bar and you like arrange to meet with someone else and they go to a bar in their respective country, holographically you can see each other and just like eat and share a meal. I'm like, I don't think that's like a terrible concept. Like I kind of like it for like a low sci-fi thing. I think that's cool. We are supposed to find this hacker that is called Shadow Child. Seraph wants to know like about this company. On the roof of this place, there's some psycho, I don't know who, like they threw like a fucking trash can from the roof, and it just like, they wanted to see how far they could throw it, and it hit a woman in the back of the head and it killed her. It was crazy, man. I don't know what the fuck was going on, but yeah, that was nuts. You go to Shadow Child's apartment building, you have a Bianca and a Marta, and they are in fact lesbians. Our Shadow Child has special dyed hair. Yeah, you find the secret room and there's this lady hooked into the net. She wants to hack the Blades, who are like corporate people who have been like going after Antifa hacktivists, because those are, I guess, our people in these games. She wants us to drop off a figurine on some woman's desk at the Palisade place. I think it's just like a fuck you, I hacked you. And once you get the mission from her, you do not have the option of going into her room to murder her. I did try, but you cannot. There's this angry guy down in the lobby. His wife was killed by security rooms, apparently within Palisade. So yeah, he wants you to look into that. In Palisade, you can get through the first area, you know, if you talk to the guy and like pass a little dialogue battle, because apparently he's also a hacker. He lets you in big rooms. Frankly, they're pretty like copy and paste. You got guards, you have turrets, you have cameras, bots. Very aggravating. You don't have a ton of like EMP ammunition. You don't have a ton of anything because your AUGs have been reset. Your inventory is gone. So it's just frustrating. It's like, but White Pill, it's supposed to be hard. Sure. But why not let me go in with my gear? There's not a good reason why I can't show up with my fucking gear. It's just to pad out the story time. And we go through all this bullshit. There was this one room, I fucked this up, but you could like stand on like some heat pads and then like the robots couldn't see you. I just ran through there screaming and panicking to make it to my destination and ignored the heat pads, which was bad. Don't do that. You should use them. Pritchard and you like hack in using like the NSN, so you're like in the virtual world again, but it goes bad when you're in there and like Pritchard gets trapped. So Shadow Child has to save the day because, of course, amazing Shadow Child, she's the best hacker in the world, and she's a lesbian. Isn't that just super? NSN, like weird little puzzles where you're doing data breaches and stuff, and you gotta use smart vision. I was a retard because there's this invisible walkway, and I'm like, I keep fucking falling. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Use smart vision. So happy that the DLC is finished. We saved Pritchard, and Pritchard is like free from the virtual world, and you got like the information that he wanted. Cutscene with Shadow Child, and she's moving with like her lesbian lover somewhere else in the world. You never got the chance to like shoot her or turn her in. You have like a little moment with Pritchard back in your apartment. I like that Pritchard was here, but if you just cut Shadow Child and you just gave us like just you and Pritchard working together, that would have been really cool. That would have been really cool. That would have been neat. Yeah, he's just like a little side character in this DLC when he should have really been the main focus, but Shadow Child was really the main focus. What a shame. But we ended there. Not terribly long, but definitely more frustrating than it had to be.
You know, Jensen, this may be the last time we ever work together. Assuming, of course, you don't get yourself half killed, saving the world again, and call on me to
Goodbye, Francis. Take care of yourself.
And then finally, the last DLC, A Criminal Past, actually takes place before the events of the main game, so it's like a sort of a little prequel. This is you going undercover to an augmented prison in America. You're in Arizona. And while it is set as a prequel, this is actually you talking to the psychologist, asking us about Hector. And this talk is set after the events in London. The prison is called the Penthouse. You lose your augmentations upon arrival, and there's some like shutdown chip that's put inside you. It makes sense here that you don't have an inventory or augmentations, so I was okay with it here, but it was just like gay in the first 2 DLCs. You know, you get dropped off in your cell, and then you're supposed to go to the yard. You can search people's cells. You can find some shit in there. Like I found a gyroscope, a stun gun with no ammo. There's some like gay poetry. A guy offers to trade me a multi-tool for some booze. Apparently guards are killing inmates just because they can. They talk about we Augs need to stand together. There's a black guy who said that they treat us like we're cattle. Oh, I did listen to this one conversation. I'm just going to play it now between 2 Augs in the yard.
It's like a game to them. They bait us into breaking the rules and kill us when we cross the line. Been worse since they murdered Wilbur.
Let me get this straight. The guards are murdering inmates for fun?
Mm-hmm. Wilbur's just the latest brother to die for no good reason other than whatever Stenger was thinking. Kill us like we're cattle anymore.
All level 2 inmates, return to your cells immediately.
I told you my story.
Steaming.
Now,
Even in the
yours.
shade.
I was a teacher. When the AUG incident happened, I was in front of a classroom.
Oh, shit.
One minute I'm going over the triangle inequality theorem. Next minute I'm trying to rip their faces off. The students had to gang together and lock me in a closet.
Jeez. You hurt any of them?
A couple of broken bones, but one kid... Look, I lost control. You know what it was like.
Is that why you ended up in here? Because of what you did to those kids?
It wasn't because of what I did during the AUG incident. Let's just say I made one big mistake afterward.
What was that?
After the incident, I couldn't find work. I had this friend who figured out a way to get rich quick.
I know the type.
His plan sounded good at the time. But when we got caught, he snitched on me and I got 10 years.
Fucking snitches. Did you put him in the ground?
What? No! I'm a teacher, for fuck's sake. I'm not supposed to be here.
This guy was a teacher who went crazy during the incident, and he killed one of his students. He beat one of his students to death, and he didn't get punished for it. I get that he was not in control of his body and all that, but he says, not supposed to be here. You killed a kid. I know it wasn't like your fault, but that child would be alive if the teacher was not an AUG. Is that true or untrue? That child would be alive if you weren't a fucking AUG. If you can get hacked once, you can get hacked again. So why would people not be very afraid to have themselves or their children around augmented people if a lot of kids, and probably a lot of kids, did get killed during the incident, and then naturals being afraid of them is treated as this horrible bigotry when really it's just self-interest. It's just group self-interest. I really think the AUG question needs a final solution. And then I went to this guy, the Fixer, who's a doc who can help people deal with like the suppression pain from the chip. And I took a pill that he offered. If you do get killed during the DLC, the psychologist has a voiceover if you die. I thought that was a nice touch. That was pretty good. Like, come on, Adam. That's not what really happened. And then if you take too much time, like, looting or searching around, she's like, I can't believe, you didn't rush to your next objective. It's like, well, am I telling the story or are you telling the story? You find this altered biocell, which would allow you to use your augmentations, and you can give it to the black guy, or you can eat it yourself. I made the right choice here, and I got my AUGs unlocked. I was taking it slow at first, like using the stun gun. You have to be really close to use it, which is okay. And then at some point, I decided no more stealth. It just got a bit too boring for me. Peter looked so fucking ugly in the art. They went all in for that. Oh, and you also met a guy in the yard, this huge fucking fat guy. He's disgusting looking, called D-Town, and D-Town remembers you from Detroit when you were a cop, because apparently you were arresting him and he fell down some stairs and he hit his head on every fucking step. He is too retarded to remember what your last name is, though. She's like, Adam Johnson, Adam Jefferson, we meet again. I love D-Town. D-Town was one of the only highlights for A Criminal Past.
You didn't die, Adam. Think back and focus. Tell me everything.
The warden of this place is like a white guy, and he's evil, of course. But the issue of going loud in the prison is that there are a lot of turrets and guards. And yeah, going loud attracts all of them and triggers an alarm, which makes sense because it's a prison, but still sucks. Let stealth players do their stealth. Let the combat players do their combat. Like, it makes sense that we lose our shit here, but not in the other two. And it's like, all right, I'm sure the stealth players probably had a better time than the combat guys because we lost all the equipment and stuff. We're here because apparently there are some terror threats against pro-augment groups. Meet the undercover guy in the prison. I don't know if I mentioned that. That's why we went to the prison, is to like pull an undercover guy out. So we meet the undercover guy in the other cell block, and he says our lead is bullshit. Then Stinger, who is like our Burke from Missing Link, our white southern racist guy who you're supposed to hate, he shows up and he says, let's cook this beaner. And then we also get beat down. I thought that was pretty base that he called him a beaner.
Cook this beaner. Man, whatever the hell.
And then a riot is progressing. Stinger is working with Junkyard. These guys are like a criminal organization, and they like deal with like stolen augmented limbs, right? Meja, who is like the undercover guy we're supposed to pull out, he like maybe killed an inmate named Wilberg. Flossie, who is the black guy who we didn't give the biocell to, he is like a budget Malcolm X. The prisoners have taken over the admin building. For the death of Wilberg, you're supposed to like investigate this little crime scene. For the life of me, I wasted so much time on what I need to fucking press. You have to get super close to the robot and basically set yourself on fire to like get this thing off the robot that shows that the robot was hacked and that like Wilberg's death wasn't just a freak accident. There was this secret stash, which I didn't do before the riot, but if you had gone in there, you could like change out your cell block suit for like the other cell block suit. So you could have gone into like cell block B without any trouble because you're wearing the proper jumpsuit. Prisoners are running out of guns. They're getting in battles with the cops. I am gunning down prisoners and cops because fuck these prisoners. Most of these guys probably do deserve to be here. Fixer, the crazy doctor, he's in the infirmary. You cannot use guns on the Fixer. He's taking orders from Stringer. I don't know exactly what the point of the riot is. Like, all the prisoners are going to fucking lose here, but it's something that they want to do. I hate that you can't kill the Fixer. There's actually like not a good reason why you can't shoot him. There's not like a very strong story reason why it can't be done. And you're just exploring the prison. You're trying to find the Meha guy who's been like taken to solitary, and the inmates have gone crazy. They've like killed therapists and just like normal office people working in the prison. Game crashed. I stopped having fun after a while. Just like the lack of ammo, the lack of anything, you die so easily. There is this prison button puzzle. I think this is just, it's not hard, but it's just weird that it's here because there are like no puzzles in Deus Ex like at all. Like, I just played the 4 games like back to back, and I don't think there were like any puzzles at all. And it's here. You have to like press it so that, you know, it's like a grid thing and you have to get them to all light up. It was done. And then in solitary, you can investigate cell 6, and it looks like it leads to a room where guys are cut up and their augs are removed, and that's what Junkyard deals in. They like kill augmented people and then like resell their augments. So that's what they're doing at the prison. That's what Stinger is a part of. That's what Meha was like getting involved with because he's like an undercover guy trying to get in with Junkyard. So that's why they kill prisoners here, is to sell their bodies. Running across the yard, and some mechs from the yard ended up following me inside cell block A and gave me a bit of a scare, but I dropped them fairly easily. Honestly, I think they go down a little too easy, where it's like you hit them once with like electric ammo and then you can just like melee take them down. So it's like a little gay. In the admin building, there are some dead civilians, and it looks like the prisoners made them beg before they shot them. So that's just super. I did not listen to Floozy when he was trying to talk and like give his Malcolm X bullshit. So I just killed him and any other prisoner that I found. Down in the infirmary, Stinger is already dead. He was very much our guy. He was a good man, and you did not get the opportunity to save him, so that was bullshit. You find out that Wilberg was going to kick Meha out of Junkyard, so Meha actually did kill Wilberg. That's not just a rumor. And then D-Town gets off the elevator and blocks your path. He is so cool. He can't remember your name. I ended up knocking him out and not killing him because he was sweet. I wish you had the opportunity to use like your Casey mod and like win him over to your side. You and D-Town back to back fighting your way through the prison. It would have been great. But he did have a Praxis kit on him, so that was cool. Not that it matters because the DLC is basically over.
What the fuck are you doing here, Johnson? Nah, it wasn't Johnson. What the hell was it? Johansson!
There's no need for any trouble. I just want to use the elevator.
You do, huh? Well, ain't that a fucking shame? See, this is my elevator now.
No, it isn't. Look, just let me use it and I'll be on my way.
This is where I shit, asshole. Now get out of here and find your own fucking elevator. I said get lost, Jefferson. Nah, that ain't right. Jetson. Now fuck it, go bother someone else, or I'll kick your ass, you weasel!
You gotta like break out of the prison now, so you have to like shut down some turrets on the roof and then go to the landing pad. Meha wants us to kill the Fixer, says the Fixer isn't what he seems. We say that he got in too deep. The Fixer is like crazy. He like talks to stuffed animals, but he's also like the guy that like hacks people up for Stinger to like get their limbs. So maybe he does know more and he's like not as crazy as he appears. But Meha's just trying to cover his ass. Yeah, we get in a gunfight with Meha. He's like crouching next to some exploding barrels, so I just shoot the barrels. Yeah, that was it. I spoke to Fixer, and then I brought him with me, and then we left. And then you cut to you and the psychologist talking. She's calling someone at the end, probably, the Illuminati. And then we give like a vague hint that maybe we know that she's a bad guy. And that is the end of the DLC. Overall for the game, there is no real ending to it. I think this is the worst ending in all 4 games. In the original game, you had 3 choices. In Invisible War, you had 4 choices. In Human Revolution, you had 4 choices. They were bad choices, but there were 4 of them technically. I would say for worst endings, like ranking them, it's like Mankind Divided, Human Revolution, Invisible War. Just play them in reverse order for like the worst endings to the game. I don't even know if it's really a choice because you can save Brown and the delegates and defeat Marchenko. So you're not really like losing anything. Nothing is sacrificed. I think having a separate book that bridged the gap between game 1 to game 2 was a horrible choice. The whole AUG thing just sucks. They don't really work for this tie-in. You have to forgive this left-wing violence, but you can never like forgive the right-wing violence that allegedly occurred. And it's just a lot of bullshit. Like, I don't fucking care. These people, 50 million people died during the incident, and the augmented people will not meet the natural people halfway. That's crazy to me. That's fucking crazy. And just saying that there's 7 million augmented people left. Golem City is a concentration camp and blah, blah, blah. I was immediately against the augmented. It's super heavy-handed. It doesn't work. Marchenko, also shit villain. The Illuminati does nothing, and it's just too couched in just modern political events, like just really just aping the Black Lives Matter bullshit. Not that I give a fuck about Black Lives Matter, kind of the opposite, fucking glorifying that. Hopefully in this video, I showed you that in fact, AUG lives don't matter, and also AUGs aren't treated nearly harshly enough. Some things are better. Some gameplay aspects of Mankind Divided are an improvement to Human Revolution. Graphically, it looks good. It fails in basically every other aspect. I don't know how people say that this is like a great game. Even just on its own, I don't think it's very good. I think it's maybe something you play once or twice if you want to do stealth. Never again, because it's just shit. Maybe if it wasn't cut down the middle and you got to actually go to Rabaya and all that, it would have been a lot stronger. Like, yeah, that's probably true. I still think it's a bad game with the All Lives Matter and all that. Characters are far worse. That's where we end the saga of Deus Ex. I don't think Eidos Montreal is ever going to make another one. Maybe that's a good thing. I guess I would say, in terms of like what I had fun with, you know, the first one, I would not play Invisible War again. I would not play Human Revolution or Mankind Divided again. I wouldn't play them again. I didn't enjoy them. That's a little frustrating. That's like kind of insane that Deus Ex came out 24 years ago. You got 3 games to follow it. And they're just worse. They're just worse games. I'm glad I finally like played them all and beat them. So now like I know like what they were like. I have no regrets about playing the first game. And I have like a full understanding of the other games. And yeah, they weren't good. Disappointing, but I'm glad that's over with. Hopefully you enjoyed me kind of ranting and raving there. If you disliked the video, you can dislike or like if you liked. I will have some more videos soon. I plan on having like 2 more video game review videos out before the end of the year. Also like 1 book review. The first one is going to be like 2 kind of cyberpunk indie games. So hopefully that'll be decent. It'll be kind of Deus Ex-y. And then the other one is going to be 2 smaller indie games, but I think I can get both of those easily done before the end of the year. And then after that, I plan on starting like Vampire the Bloodlines Masquerade. I've never played that, but hopefully that'll be good. It's an older game, but I think I should have some fun with it. I've heard good things about it, so looking forward to that. I don't have a ton of video game content, but I have a playlist for it. You know, I talked about all the Deus Ex games, Fire Emblem, couple other ones. There's not a lot. It's usually like other kind of like movie or book reviews. If you want to hear about like indie books, you know, I do Troth videos. I put one out a little while ago that's like 5 hours long. I know that's long, but yeah, if you want to listen to something in the background, I guess. Anyways, that's going to be it from me. Thank you for watching. White Pill Media out.